So we're going to want to make sure we have the interpretation guide open. That is going to be a thing we refer to constantly. There are 4 suits of the minor arcana. There are swords, coins, cups, and wands. Sword challenges generally refer to military issues, issues within the kingdom, issues of conflict and violence. Coins challenges generally are about like economics, capitalism, like living things, like like issues around living. Wands are about the underworld, about our struggles with magic, about bad things, like magically tough things happening to us. And then cups are the weird one. Cups are the other 3 suits are always resolved in kind of a similar way. Cups kind of present unique challenges, oftentimes social challenges within the coven itself. The way we will resolve challenges is generally the same. This does not apply to cups, but this applies to the other 3. What we will do is we have 3 options. Each of us have 3 options when presented with a challenge. There's also a cheat sheet in the Google Drive. Our 3 options is that we can either, the most common thing you will do is make a fall prey to a folly. And what that is you will choose one of your follies, you will describe how you do it, and then you will take a card from the Minor Arcana deck and you will add it to your hand. And that gets you a wisdom card. So for example, if during a challenge I go that I'm going to explain my neutrality in the matter, I explain how I do that, and then I drag a card over my name and add it to my hand. Now, so that's the most common thing you'll do. That's kind of like your default thing. Only one of us needs to actually solve the problem, so the other 2 of us should just heck up a lot. Fuck up a lot. Yeah. I don't know why I censored myself. However, there are 2 ways to solve a problem. The first way is with wisdom. This is you've built up enough wisdom cards and you think you know how to solve it. And you solve it without doing big flashy magic. You just kind of think, you head smart it. And what that looks like is you need a total value of your cards to be equal to 3 times the value of the problem we're facing. So if we are facing the Ace of Wands, you need cards that add together to be a 3 or more. If we're facing the 10 of Wands, you need cards that add together to be 30 or more.
Damn.
Pages are 11, knights are 12, queens and kings are both 13.
So I don't know, I'll check my deck now, but a lot of cards have the number at the top, I believe, right?
Yes, they all do. The exceptions are the face cards, pages, right. Knights, kings, and queens, but all the other ones do. They say which one they are. Yeah. And then the third way you can do it is if no one has enough wisdom cards to solve the problem that way, you can cast true magic. And that is where you just snap your fingers and the problem is magicked away. You do some crazy act of incredible magic of your own description that just solves it. However, this always comes at a cost. And what you must do when you do this is you must strike out one of your sources. Remember those 9 sources under your power? You must strike one of them out, which means that is no longer true about you. Those sources can be healed. You can gain them back. But if you have already stricken out a source, you can blacken it if you need to do true magic again. In which case, you go over that line again in black, you scribble it out, it is gone forever, and you replace it with something horrible. So we will need to solve the first couple of problems with true magic because we just won't have the wisdom to solve them normally yet. But we're gonna have to, it's gonna be rough. Like true magic is very powerful, but it comes at a cost. That's also all on your cheat sheets. Are there any questions about that?
For the first couple times this happens, are you down to walk us through it a little bit?
Yes, of course, absolutely. Awesome. That was my plan.
This is so cool.
Yeah, it's really smart. I'm going to put the cards in the middle underneath the wild spirit. They're going to go right in that sort of central area on the table. So the first one is going to be the King of Cups. So this is one of the wonky ones. This is a cups. So we don't settle it normally, but instead what we do is we go to the interpretation guide. And we always go to the interpretation. We're going to go to the interpretation guide, and we're going to go down to the King of Cups.
Do you want me to throw the interpretation guide into the window so we can see it, or would you rather just leave it on the play area?
Let's just. What do you mean?
I can put the interpretation guide onto the window that's being captured by OBS.
Let's do that. That's very smart.
Let's see if that worked. It worked. We're in the interpretation guide.
Hooray!
Cool. We go to Cups.
King. Yep. Scroll down to the King of Cups, and it says star there, which means that whoever has the star is going to read it out.
Cool. King of Cups. A letter has arrived addressed to the esteemed leader of our coven. On the count of 3, we'll point to who we think the leader of our coven is. Ready? 1. Oh, so hold on.
So what we should do is we should each say the name, right? Okay.
We'll each say the name. On the count of 3, we'll point to who we think the leader of our coven is. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Minerva. What did Tamsin say?
I said Minerva too.
Cool. All 3 of us said Minerva. Great.
Mm-hmm.
If it's unanimous or we each got 1 vote, we'll all draw wisdom cards and the challenge is solved. But if anyone got exactly 2 votes, the dissenting coven mate explains themselves and we fail the challenge. Oh, we each get a wisdom card.
We each get a wisdom card. So we each draw a card from the deck and we put it into our hand. And the King of Cups, I'm going to flip face down. It is removed from the game. It is gone. It is gone now.
I have drawn a card. Can I look at the card that I drew?
Yes. Yep. Please look at it. That is one of your wisdom cards. That is the tool you will have to solve future problems.
Do we say what these cards are out loud?
Yeah, we can totally know what they are. They don't, like, their nature does not matter. They are just a number. They're a resource, effectively. Yeah.
Cool. I got the 10 of Pentacles.
Mm-hmm. And I think also you should be able to maybe click around and see what other people have in their hands.
Oh, that's right. Of course. Yeah.
Also, to make it easier, you can select it to be all instead of by deck. And that lets you just see all your cards laid out there.
I'm also noticing that in the Roll20, it's pentacles, and the guide, it's coins. But if you're familiar with tarot, you know that. But that might be a small note to make for later.
Thank you. Yeah, no, the pentacles. And the...
so I have the 9 of Wands, which for our purposes just has a value of 9. The meaning of the card. Cool. Perfect. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is so cool.
So when you spend a card, what you're going to do is you're going to drag it out, and you're just going to put it. We're going to just build up a little pile of wisdom cards there.
Cool.
Okay.
And so we'll just, whenever you spend them, we'll just put them there, and then we'll get to that later.
I love this challenge so much because the content of the letter has no bearing on the challenge. It's literally just whether we all agree who the leader is.
The letters, very MM humor, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. The letter's something like, oh, like, just so you know, we're going to be doing renovation on the docks this Tuesday. So if you're planning on, and it's like, that doesn't matter. What matters is this social challenge.
Exactly. So now we've got the King of Pentacles. So we are going to go to the coins section and find the King of Coins.
Yep. Awesome.
Scrolling time. Yeah. When this is a finished product, there's going to be the finished product is going to be 3 zines that are like a cute little zine bundle, and one of the zines is just going to be the interpretation guide, and that'll be really easy to just like flip through, and there'll be like bookmarks and stuff in it. So
that's perfect. Yeah.
Incredible.
So this is for the High Priestess to read, which is me. I have the High Priestess. The kingdom's leaders have redoubled this year's taxes, and our coven must pay as dearly as the rest of the populace. How will we fend off the tax collectors? And is there any way we can help our fellow subjects? If we solve this challenge with wisdom, we may lessen the kingdom's poverty or add a resource to our sanctuary.
I don't think we have the ability to solve this with wisdom.
Super don't. Yeah. because we can't pool our cards. We each have our own little.
Oh no!
Yeah, there's yeah, there's no way.
Yeah. So basically, the way one of us has to solve this with true magic, and the other two of us folly. Make a folly about it.
Okay.
Who wants to solve that? I kind of feel like I'm going to do a folly about it.
How's Tamsin feeling?
I'm looking at my follies, and I think it makes more sense for me to do a folly about it, because I don't think this is necessarily something where she'd be like, I got this, right? Like it's weirdly it's a very material thing. It is not an emotional thing.
I feel like if that's true, I feel like in that case Minerva would be more likely to solve it than Charlie.
Yeah, I think I have to do a folly. I think I have to be thwarted by my inexperience. I think this like missive arrives that everyone's taxes are being doubled, and I think Charlie just looks up and is like, "Oh no, what do we do?"
Yeah, and I think Tamsin, her folly is that she underestimates the problem. There's a degree to which money doesn't really factor into her decision making as much, because like half of the time that she's awake, her quarters are just an escape from this world, right? And I imagine that a lot of her interactions with other people in the town, while maybe connected and intense, are again, she's like she's kind of a fuckboy. Like she's just like, oh wow, I cannot help you, I do not care. Like it's and it's infuriating. And in the same way, when she sees that letter and says doubling the taxes, there's an attitude of like, wow, I guess we just need double the coin, with like no consideration of like how that's going to happen or anything.
I think Charlie is the exact opposite of trying to be extremely helpful, but it's just like, we could do a bake sale. And it's like, it's like, Charlie, sweetheart, that is not.
That's not going to get there.
Yeah.
I think, what do you call? So you each draw a wisdom card now, because you did a folly.
Awesome.
So you each get a wisdom card. I am going to do some true magic. And the way I'm going to solve this is, I think what happens is, it is, let me get this exactly right. I think what happens is, the day the taxes are due, a horrible omen appears to the Serpentine, and the Serpentine, like in a rush of panic, just call it all off. Like they're just like, we cannot, like, and like they're like we need to delay it by like a week, we need to delay it by 2 weeks, and then the omen keeps coming, and like there's kind of this like tension of like it becomes clear that the gods frown upon, you know what I mean, like it just seems like the world frowns upon it. Like when the tax collectors go to collect, they all get lost in they are like, they're trying to like navigate, and their ships just go off course, and everything just kind of goes wrong, and like it gets mired in bureaucracy. And like even though there's nothing clearly magical about that, there's this pervasive web of magic throughout all of it, and Minerva is up in her orae, just kind of stringing things together that way. And I have stricken honorable. I am no longer honorable. Deep down, I am unsure and have hope for the future. But we solved the King of Pentacles.
Damn.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I love how fast that was.
Yeah, that's kind of the nice thing also, is that like these challenges, like you can make full scenes out of them, but you don't have to. You don't have to, like, you could theoretically go through this game without ever really speaking in character, although like you can speak in character in roleplay scenes. We can also just talk through what happens, you know?
I'm really into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
So the next one we've got is the Seven of Pentacles. So interpretation guide, check the interpretation guide.
The sun.
The sun. So that is me again. We've all been busy lately with vital pursuits and our personal troubles, but that's no excuse for neglect. The sanctuary's usual lack of tidiness has slipped out of control and become a literal disaster. We'll each say which aspect of the mess we find the most appalling, inconvenient, or dangerous. To solve this challenge, we must clear away all three, but how, given that this mess fights back? So it's the cleaning montage from Howl's Moving Castle. So to each of us, which aspect of this mess is the most appalling, dangerous, or bad?
Dirty dishes in the kitchen. When there is a mess in living spaces, that can be attributed to taste or people's sense of personal comfort. When the kitchen is dirty, there's a possibility of people getting sick, and that is the part that is the most upsetting to Charlie. She is most creased about people not tidying the kitchen. The kitchen needs to be as tidy as possible.
Tamsin's door is stuck open. It opens
no.
into, because like it'll randomly open as a portal into another world. It opened into a world of like frenzied, joyous animals that are constantly in like a rite of spring. And when it opened, just a cascade of wood, like branches, like loose branches got knocked out, and it's actually like wedged in between the back of the door and the door jamb itself, and she can't clear it. And so now there's just constantly animals running through the house because they're coming in from the door from this other world, and she keeps trying to like shut. She's like tried to tie it shut, and the animals will just like wriggle through, and yeah, it's really distracting her. And also she wants to shut the door and open it again because like there's only the bedroll and the pad are great for like a night or two, but eventually she wants to get back to her own room.
I think that Minerva cannot stand the fact that someone, maybe it was one of those goddamn badgers in waistcoats, that came in through Tamsin's door, has completely rearranged their desk. Minerva's desk is all out of order. There are all sorts of things in the wrong spots. The books have been thrown on the ground. It is unsustainable, and they just cannot find anything, and they cannot work under such conditions, and this is unacceptable. Also, an important note, by the way, is that if we do not have to solve a problem, we can each do a folly about it, in which case very bad things happen, but we don't have to solve it. Just an important note. But if someone has the ability to solve it with wisdom, if they've got cards that add up to 21, that would be cool. Otherwise, someone's got to do true magic about it.
I love how loaded this is in the beginning. It's just like, good fucking luck.
Good luck. Nice try.
Like you're just not.
Yeah, we just need to make some mistakes real quick. Like,
yeah, I love it. How are I am like on the razor's edge between Charlie solving this with true magic or her doing a big folly, which is go sulk in frustration or humiliation, in which case I'm not even physically present for the next challenge.
You are still involved in solving it. Like you can still solve it. You're just you are not physically there, you know?
Gotcha.
Okay. Ironically, given that she is often the cause of like chaos and mess, this is an amazing opportunity for Tamsin to use true magic.
Yeah.
I think
mm-hmm.
What happens is there's just like a perfect confluence of like rearrangement. Here's what happens. 2 giant oversized bowerbirds come through to celebrate their wedding, and Tamsin comes home after like a long walk, which she took to relieve some of her frustrations, to find that every room of the house is a different color, and random crap has just been collected into each room to create their wedding bower. And they're like chatting with each other and just so loud, and she just has had enough. There is a slide and a shift into a dreamscape where every single object remembers its home, and it starts fighting the birds, and the birds try to like bring them back, but there's just no containing them. And everywhere that Tamsin walks through the house, order just sort of springs up behind her, like little wildflowers growing, and she starts approaching the birds, and they cower and they retreat back through the door jamb, and she's able to close the door, and then she opens it, and it's just her very messy room, and the rest of the house is perfect.
That's so good. I think I'm gonna do my follow real quick, which is just I think I insist on a burdensome tradition, ceremony, or etiquette, which is that before you like just bring about the bowerbirds, I insist we block off an entire week just to clean. Which no one wants to do, including myself. But you know, like I'm just like we need to. Yeah, I think that's just. And then the bowerbirds come, and it's like okay, this is fine.
I definitely go sulk and frustration or humiliation because I feel like I bring up the kitchen and it starts a big argument, and what I wanted was to be like held and comforted because it's hard for me to speak up and like ask for stuff. So I was like, I really need help keeping the kitchen clean, and everyone's like, oh, this is a good time for me to complain about something, and it really and it was like oh, it really hurt my feelings. So I think Charlie heads off.
So you get 2 wisdom cards from that, and Tamsin, what source do you strike?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I think I'm going to strike fighting for myself.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, absolutely.
Love
that. Cool. So, our next card is the 4 of Cups. So more cups and coins seems to be what we're getting. It's interesting because like there is kind of this like even though like any suit has the same chance of being drawn, every time I play, it seems like the deck seems to favor certain suits, which is really interesting.
That's often how it goes.
This is incredible. 4 of Cups is to be read by the Fool, which is me.
Is you, yeah.
I'm overhearing a conversation I wasn't supposed to. You are both discussing how best to push me to my true potential. Answer me this question. What do you each think I need to become my best self? Argue it out until I make my presence known. I'll tell you with my words or with my actions whether I think you're right or wrong about me. If you're right, I'll take all of your wisdom cards and you'll cross out one of my follies. If you're both wrong, we fail this challenge.
Oh. Whoa. So important to remember, you are physically absent. So I think I'm where do you think you would be such that you could hear this happening?
I think that where do I think I'm overhearing a conversation I was supposed to you both discussing it, but argued until I make my presence known. I think that I'm not physically there, but I have to make my presence known.
Maybe you're up in your
I think I'm in my room, and I know we didn't choose this, but to hell with that. I'm going to say that my room's upside down. I'm in my bed, I'm on the ceiling, and I have a upside down mirror that is twinned to a mirror in the like living space where you two are arguing. But because I'm on the ceiling, it's easy to forget that I am in that room. So I think that's what it is. I'm like lying on my bed, pouting. I'm there like with Charlotte in a little patch of sunlight, and overhearing through the mirror you two talking about me.
I really think that Charlie actually needs more challenges. I think that we shouldn't clean up after ourselves and we shouldn't tidy. There's just no reason for us to do that if all she wants clearly is to do it herself.
You really think that what matters is her organization and her fussiness? She completely lacks sight of what's going on. She needs to understand, much like you need to understand, but even more for her, she needs to understand that there's a big picture to all of this, that there's more to being a witch than housekeeping and cooking and taking care of birds.
I mean, there's always a big picture if all you're doing is looking up at the stars every night. I get that there's a big picture. There's always a big picture. In the little picture, I can't find my favorite mug or the bread that I bought last week that I actually bought instead of just, taking. And I would like to have those things. And if Charlie is pouting and suddenly that throws the whole house into disarray, I don't know. I think that maybe this is actually what she wants, and she's just really bad at saying so.
You think that what she wants is just to bother you? That's completely inappropriate for a witch of her nature. That's all of your focus on this aspect of her, where it's a disgrace to witchdom, really.
She's always bothering everybody. It's not a disgrace. It's just who she is. She's young too.
She's young, and that's the problem. She needs to understand that there's more to witchiness than whatever you think it is. No offense, my dear.
All right. Well, I still want my mug, and I don't know where it is, and I won't try to find it because I'm tired.
Your mug is hucked unceremoniously through the mirror and smashes on the ground in the middle of the space. You're both wrong. We fail this challenge.
Oh no! Wow. Yeah. Yep. So
Jeeyon knew exactly what Charlie wanted, but it's what would Tamsin have thought? Definitely not anything helpful or productive. Here we
go. So there are three different. We must each choose one of the following three things, and we can choose the same thing. We can choose different things. One of them, the first thing you can choose, is to strike something from the sanctuary, either a resource, friend, or wonder. You can just remove it from the sanctuary; it is gone. The second thing you can do is worsen the kingdom's ignorance, poverty, or despair, in which case, when you do that, something happens. And the third thing you can do is worsen the claim the underworld has over you, in which case something happens.
And we each have to do one of those.
We each choose one of those to do, yeah.
And sorry, again, Tamsin, Tamsin was accusing Charlie of wanting to clean up after everybody.
Of being passive aggressive and asking for support as a performative thing rather than it being just an actual honest to goodness ask.
Awesome. Well, Charlie is striking living spaces from the sanctuary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tamsin, that's it. If that's the belief that Tamsin has about Charlie, that she likes to clean up and keep the house tidy in order to play the victim, Charlie will be happy to prove her wrong by making this place goddamn unlivable.
Oh no. I think Minerva is going to worsen the underworld's claim over them. So what happens then is I must be more careful, cross out one of my follies. And so the underworld now has a stronger claim over me. Because I think part of that is just sort of knowing that I fucked up that way, I think just kind of causes Minerva to retreat further into just distance themselves even further and be sort of enter into that insecurity. And I am going to no longer, I will never again chide the foolishness of one of my coven mates. I must be more careful. Dang. That is gone. Yep.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really good.
That's God, this game is poetic. That's so beautiful.
Yeah. Wow, that truly is the nuclear option. I was just scanning things, and there's cross out a national joy describing how it's ruined for everyone. I'm not going to choose that. I think what I'm going to choose, what was the one that wasn't the underworld or ignorance, poverty, or despair?
Take away something from the sanctuary.
Got it. That's already happened.
We can do it again though. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna say, actually, I will take the underworld one. So, draw a skull next to one of the sanctuary's friends who has drawn the ire of the underworld. I'm going to choose Jax.
Oh,
Jax. Oh no.
oh, our sweet little orphan boy.
Our sweet little orphan boy.
You're in trouble, Jax.
Oh no. All right, I'm going to flip the next card. That was our first challenge failed. Oh, gee. The Two of Swords.
All right.
Swords, our first swords.
Oh. Moon. I think I have that one. Let me check.
Yeah, I think you do.
I do. All right. I've been challenged to a duel, so worsen the kingdom's ignorance.
I'm crossing that out.
Cool.
And then we'll
The holder of the sun will tell us who issued the challenge. The holder of the star will tell us what I did to offend them, and I'll tell you how I feel about it. The kingdom is watching to see how we respond. What should I do? Who has the sun and the star?
I have the sun.
I have the star.
Perfect. So the sun goes first. Who issued the challenge?
I think so remember how I mentioned like that a lot of like the warfare in the archipelago is like very like ritualistic, where it's like because of the serpentine, like there's kind of like the way in which war is fought is much more like sacrifices and challenges and duels rather than like outright bloodshed, because like it's just too risky. I think that means that there's kind of like a number of basically like professional duelists, and I think there's one of them who's like a dangerous mercenary named Ironjaw, who you do not know who he is working for, but you suspect it is Autocrat Gentle, and he has been you suspect that it's the Serpentine because it's about maybe the taxes, and he has come and he has challenged you. I did not mean to say what caused it. I think I just did that.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I'm so sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it is Ironjaw. It is he is a mercenary who is perhaps working on behalf of the Serpentine.
So we have this thing. The kingdom is the ignorance went up. The kingdom is now at war with a neighbor, which we also have to name who's from there.
So Jeeyon's gonna name the kingdom and name the neighbor and choose who's from there.
Cool. Okay, Jeeyon will choose that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say that Ironjaw, whatever that kingdom is and whoever's from there, Ironjaw is from that kingdom, and Tamsin very publicly was just like amongst courtiers was like, oh, this should be over very quickly. Was like just like disparaged and was like, oh, Ironjaw is a second-rate, not dangerous, like just this guy's a jamoke. He's nothing to be taken seriously. And it's the kind of thing where the reason it's so offensive is that it's actually true, and so this guy has to, but like can't let his honor be disparaged.
Yeah, he's honor bound. Yeah,
he's honor bound to come duel. And now Tamsin is in a situation where like she has to kick this dude's ass after humiliating him, and he doesn't really stand a shot.
Yeah. And he's from the kingdom, which I'm going to call Repariana. All right. Oh, I don't have
You can, if you click on the spot where you can mouse it over, like where you can add where you choose to add the line, you can instead choose to do text.
Got it. Okay. And Repariana. Shoot. Oh, text. There we go. Is Wow, I chose the worst place to place that.
You can move it around.
And that's okay. It is the kingdom that stands between the sea, the kingdom of the sea where we live, and the rest of the mainland. It imbibes a riparian zone is actually the land in between a body of water and a drier mainland.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And I think Tamsin is from there as well, actually. But unlike
really cool.
who travels the border and has a home there, Tamsin, I think, I'm going to decide later whether she was displaced or like displaced violently or just displaced through like a sort of like slower, less immediately visible form of diaspora. Like she lives in our kingdom instead.
Yeah.
And when she made that comment, it was thoughtless and rude. And she recognizes instantly that she's now going to have to fight someone and probably win and possibly kill one of the very few people in our village that shares my heritage and my background and my blood. And
really cool. Yeah, I love that.
And that's how I feel about it, basically.
Yeah. Cool. So I'm gonna, so it's because it's a 2 of swords, you only need actually, sorry. So ignorance has worsened, which means we now add 1 to swords. So this is actually, you need a 9 or more to beat it.
Me? Okay.
Yeah, or whoever solves it with wisdom.
It says what should I do? Does that mean
it does say what should I do, which I actually love to know whether we collectively decide. I do have a 10 of pentacles, so I could beat it.
You could beat it. I feel like you should maybe beat it with wisdom. I feel like maybe that's your
I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to make a folly, which is make a humble offer, which is rejected, which is when Ironjaw arrives at our village, I offer him a huge banana bread to try to quell this whole thing, and it does not work. I
am going to exclaim my neutrality in the matter. Matters of war and conflict and violence are, such. This is not the place of witches. We should not be dueling. You've gotten yourself into this mess, and it's not my job to get you out of it.
I'm gonna say, and I don't know what like mechanical bearing this has on anything, but I think that Tamsin loses some respect for Minerva when
that's fine. Yeah. I think
in order to spend this, I drag it. Is that right?
Yeah. So just drag it out onto the table.
Okay. Whoop. There we go.
Yeah, there it is. And let's not flip it face down. Let's just keep it face up next to it over here.
I'll put it here. Oh,
yeah. Okay. We're moving around.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, we got it.
Great.
So how do you solve it with wisdom?
I think the night before the duel, I see Ironjaw at one of the kind of like mid-level restaurants that's by the sea. And it has like a very open area. It's hard to hear conversations except by the people who are having them because the ocean is right there. And I think that he orders something small and sits next to him. And they have a long, quiet conversation. And the details of it aren't important, but what is important is that this is one of the few times that Tamsin is actually able to, it's not like a seduction in the like lustful sense. It's more like that, the sense of like persuasion and it's not charisma in the sense of being like a magnetic personality driving people to a conclusion. It's more just an opening up, like a completely honest opening up of her acknowledging the mistake and her saying, I don't want to kill you. I don't want to hurt someone, like one of the few people who shares what I share. I don't want to uproot myself in the process of the ceremony. And whatever disgrace that you might carry after this, it's not worth it to me. So I am willing to forfeit this duel. I am willing to carry that dishonor on myself because it doesn't matter to me, but it matters a lot to you. And do you accept that? And whether Ironjaw accepts it or not, I leave up to the two of you.
I think he does. I think he's both appreciative because I think he suspected that he would lose the duel, but also like it was not a matter of like he wants to fight you. It was like he had to fight you, and so he's greatly thankful that you did a very kind thing.
Yeah, I feel like it's intuitive to everybody, maybe in Ripariana, or probably even across all the different city-states of this realm in the archipelago, that like honor is something that really matters to warriors and maybe is not necessary to witchcraft. Like, what's honor? It's like, well, you trade your whole life on that, but for us, it would just be a pointless victory and depriving the world of another hero. So why bother?
Yeah.
I love that.
Love that. All right, our next card is the Page of Coins.
High Priestess.
Me. That's me. Let me get there. An aristocrat is offering a handsome sum of gold to have us place a nasty curse on a convicted criminal. There's just one issue. The criminal is innocent and the aristocrat is guilty. The pure heart will tell us the nature of the crime, and the wild spirit will say how the aristocrat framed them. How do we untangle this dilemma? If we solve this challenge in a way that pleases the aristocrat, we may add a new resource to our sanctuary with this payment. Otherwise, add them to the kingdom's leaders. So, Brennan, what is the nature of the crime?
The nature of the crime, to go to this like Mediterranean ancient Greek place, the criminal is accused of slaughtering a like mythically potent cow, like a milk white bull that was sacred, like a sort of sacred animal. The criminal has been accused of doing this, but in reality, the aristocrat did it because.
Wait, no.
I'm defining how they were framed.
Oh, how they were framed. Cool. Mm-hmm. So the nature of the crime is the slaughter of a magical bull.
Now I want to know what you were going to say, but I think the way that the aristocrat framed them is I think a magical bull was slaughtered. There was a sacred animal that lived in the hills, and it was killed, and it was absolutely killed by the aristocrat. But one of its powers was that its blood, when painted in certain sigils, would transfer the will of the painter onto whoever it's painted on. And so the aristocrat hired someone to actually sneak into the bedroom of the, unfortunate the criminal while they were sleeping, who was just probably some schmuck, right? Like maybe a political rival, even like a minor political rival that it's easy to just get wiped off the slate. And just the tiniest little sigil was painted on the nape of their neck. And the next day, the guards were breaking down their door and arresting them.
I love that. Also, to add to the nature of the crime itself, the magical nature of this bull's blood is what motivated because the actual crime was not by the framed person, but by the aristocrat. The aristocrat had a sacred duty to care for this animal because it like benefited their whole region. But knowing it had that magic blood, the aristocrat was like, fuck my region. I'm gonna get that blood magic, baby. So
important note. Important note is that the aristocrat wants us to put a curse on the convicted criminal. So is this like we've been hired to punish the criminal for the crime?
I think we've been hired to curse them to silence. I think.
Oh, yeah.
Curse them so that there's no way they can defend themselves.
So who wants to solve this? How do we want to... Who's going to solve this? It's the Page of Pentacles, so we need 33 to beat it.
Okay.
Which I have. I am literally one off from that, so I cannot solve with wisdom.
I got this. I'm gonna solve it.
This? Okay, great.
I got it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna let's do our follies first, so that way we can be ever sweeter for you. I'm going to learn of the death of this bull and depart on mysterious business. I I am just like, oh well, clearly there's some greater cosmic problem that has occurred, and I must get the hell out of Dodge, and
That
I
is
will
so
visit the
annoying.
Yeah. I Gandalf this, and I just ollie out to the old temple or wherever.
I love it. I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do more harm than good. I think something about the nature of this crime gets under my skin, and it's like a splinter that I can't get out. And the more I think about it, the angrier I get. And I think on some level, I know the aristocrat is to blame, but I don't know how. And one day in the market, while I'm just getting household supply, like maybe a few hours after we've learned of this, and the aristocrat has like hired us, he runs into me in the market and basically asks, "So how are things coming? Are your rituals? Is the curse?" And I just lay into him and have like a pointed like finger in the face. You're a stain on this earth kind of shouting match, but there's nothing to back me up. And now, even though he's hired us, like I've created a lot of ill will through that one interaction.
Ooh, baby.
And how do you solve it with wisdom? And do you solve it in a way that pleases the aristocrat?
Well, here's the thing, because I see Tamsin, like, now Tamsin blows up at the aristocrat. Yeah. So I have the cards to solve this with wisdom, but I actually don't think Charlie would want to solve, like she sees Minerva, they head off to go deal with the ramifications of this bull dying. Tamsin, I think I agree with Tamsin that this guy's an asshole. So I think Charlie's going to solve this with true magic, actually, because solving it with wisdom would be like giving this dude what he wants. So
it's good to know that the question is, how do we untangle this dilemma? So I feel like maybe I don't know. Like carry on. You're in charge.
I think that Charlie is going to see, because the criminal is still out there and alive. The bull is dead and nothing can be done. And there's nothing we can do to this aristocrat. The aristocrat's asking us to curse this criminal to make them disappear. And Charlie, as the last witch of the coven who can even be talking to this aristocrat, says to the aristocrat, "My lord, it is my promise as a witch that you shall never see nor hear hide nor hair of this criminal ever again. They will be stricken from your life and knowledge for all of time, and you will never be bothered again." And Emperor's New Clothes this fool, where the criminal is completely fine, and in fact Charlie is going to shepherd the criminal to safety and try to get him a boat to get somewhere far away and safe. And any word that anyone ever speaks to this lord of this criminal will turn to nothing but wind on his ears. He will never be able to see him or hear him again. And Charlie lives up to her words. I think that keeps the aristocrat happy. That's my interpretation of that. I think
so. I agree. So you also have to strike a source, though. What source do you strike?
Oh, Charlie is no longer innocent at all.
You are just angry and stronger than you think.
Deep down, I am angry, because I think this is one of those moments where what Charlie would want to do is like strike down the Lord and bring the bull back to life, and sees that it's like, oh, I can't actually bring justice here. I can just maybe provide some sanctuary for people that have been harmed. And it's like, oh, this is a not fair world. So her innocence is gone.
What do we think what do we think the aristocrat pays us with? What is the aristocrat's payment?
It says,
is it perhaps some of the blood of the bull?
The blood of the bull. Yeah. I mean, gold and that, I think, because the interpretation guide says he offers us a handsome sum of gold.
But it also says add a resource that is what we think.
I see. Yeah.
It could be golden blood, yeah.
Yeah. Golden blood. Yeah, bull's blood. That's a type of beet I'm planting right now.
Oh, very
Leaves
good.
red.
Cool. Great. Perfect. Wow. Yes. Very good. All right, the bull's blood has been added to our list of resources. If my computer would move, and reasonable pace. There we go. Here's the next card. It is the Page of Swords, which, remember, because our ignorance is +1, we're going to need 36 to beat this with wisdom. It is the Page of Swords. Let's go check it out.
It is the Magician, which I believe is me.
That is you. Yep.
Oh, a gang. This is so cute. A gang of rowdy children keeps daring each other to trespass onto the grounds of the sanctuary. Oh no, wait, never mind. And now they've taken to shouting cruel words and even throwing pebbles at us. How can we discourage them from bothering us in the future? If we solve this challenge in a way that charms... Okay, I misread that. If we solve this challenge in a way that charms the children or their parents, we can lessen the kingdom's ignorance by 1 or discover a new national joy. I read that as harms, not charms. And for
very different.
Like, no, but very different. So good.
Yeah. I am away on business, very important business. However, I do have the wisdom cards to solve this.
Yeah, you do.
But
me and Charlie are getting Goonies over here, and you're just like somewhere else.
You are getting Goonies. I'm goddamn like I do not remember the names of any places in Lord of the Rings, but in The Hobbit when Gandalf goes to the abandoned fortress to deal with the necromancer, that's me right now. But with a magic bull, the magic dead bull.
Yep.
A gang of rowdy children. Yeah. Tamsin, go for it. Grab some wisdom. I got this. I fully got this.
Yeah.
I am going to what do you call? I'm going to, I think, just withhold vital information from my coven mates, which is what the hell I'm doing out there and what's going on, and like just any of that. Yeah.
I'm gonna escalate the hostility between our coven and these children by 1
Oh my god.
They're like throwing pebbles and shouting names, and one of them just happens to shout a name that I got teased as when I was a child. What is it? I'm gonna say it's Potato Face. That's what we look like. Yeah, one of them starts shouting hey, Potato Face, and like throws a rock, which ineffectually lands not even close to me. But just because of that, I spin around and I say, no, you're the Potato Face. And there's just this like shouting match, and they stop throwing rocks, but they start throwing, there's like some kind of ripe fruit nearby, and they start throwing that, and then I start throwing it, but I'm magical. And so it's like when I throw 1, 10 get pelted at them. Yeah, there's just like a food fight, like an angry, childish little food fight. And I think that's how Charlie finds me as she solves the problem.
There's a huge food fight. I think Charlie, in the midst of this food fight, comes out with a bunch of fresh baked pies and turns the food fight with hard fruit into a very silly pie fight. And then when everyone's tuckered out, just starts actively serving the unused pies to the kids. And just very earnestly starts asking them questions about themselves, giving them food, and as their like natural like hostility kicks in and they like call Charlie names, she just like laughs at the names rather than like just shows that she's like not scared of these kids. And in fact likes them and wants to be friends with them. And I'm gonna shell out the 9 of Wands, the 4 of Wands, the 10 of Swords, and the Queen of Pentacles, which is 36.
How do you guys have so many cards? Okay.
Well, you have to grab one yourself, Jeeyon, because you did not.
That's true. Yeah.
Which also solving this with if we solve in ways that charms the children or their parents, we can lessen the kingdom's ignorance by 1, which is what I think we should do.
Yeah, we are no longer at war. So that's good.
Oh my gosh, can I say that the day that this beautiful pie truce happened, the kingdom also declares truce with Ripariana?
Yeah, that's really good.
I love that so much.
We did it. We are good souls.
We're good souls.
That was the cutest fucking thing that could
That was very cute. Oh, our first wands, 5 of wands.
Ooh.
So
Moon, that's me. Okay.
that's you.
The kingdom's citizens have been treating me with even more fear and suspicion than normal, and even the sanctuary's mortal friends react the same way. I must discard a wisdom card or else strike a source. It turns out that they're seeing me as a manifestation of the underworld's menace against me, although nothing looks different to any of us. How can we break this illusion? Okay. So let me discard the wisdom card first.
Mm-hmm.
I will discard the 4 of Pentacles.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that the underworld's menace against me. Which one did I say it was? It was.
You didn't underline it?
Oh, whoops. Yeah, it's written in my book. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure if it was anywhere. I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's the sneaking chains or mazes and veils or both. I think what's happening is that there is how do y'all feel about this? Like, there is an illusion that has actually been cast on me, and maybe it's not by an external agent, but something is happening. The nature of wild magic, like my true magic, is unpredictable, and not in the way that nature is unpredictable, because it's actually quite predictable once you know the patterns, but there is a certain ferality to it, and there's a certain mercilessness to it, right?
Yeah.
Nature doesn't care about your comfort or your needs. It's just going to keep moving forward the way that it moves forward. And that's true of my magic as well. And at some point, something tipped, like a small thing. And now when people who are not magical look at me, they can't see me exactly. It's almost like they're trying to look at me through like underwater.
Oh.
And it's really unsettling.
Yeah.
And it's just slight at first, but it's getting worse and worse and worse. And the longer they try to look at me, the more they feel things like almost as though chains are wrapped around them and tightening. They feel this strange binding or pressure. And I think to a certain extent, Tamsin is very well liked, but suddenly she's being shut out of things, and then it gets like actively hostile. Like, she's driven out of markets. She's actually told to go back. And I actually don't know what's going on. But it's very upsetting.
I'd like to note I do have enough wisdom to solve this, and I'd love to burn off some of my wisdom because I am building them up like crazy right now. So if I don't know, but unless Tamsin, you want to solve it.
No, I love the idea of you solving it. This seems like one of those times in which Minerva would intervene.
Finally, after just folly after
like,
folly.
There's a big picture thing happening. There's like a weird cosmic thing happening.
Yeah, exactly.
If it helps Minerva think of how they're going to solve this, I know the fall. Charlie definitely falls into a folly because she's very in her own humble, sweet way, very cocky after winning those kids over. There's like a scary, not a militia, but like the beginnings of a militia, like a group of people that could get scared enough to do something violent, that are having a meeting, and Charlie like scries that through a mirror and just walks there in the middle of this very dangerous meeting to be like, hey, like, all of you need to behave, and is like not cognizant of that these are not rowdy neighborhood kids. These are like scared adult men who could do something really violent and stupid. So that's the folly. So I'm going to take a card for a folly there.
Great.
I think my folly, I'm going to choose act impulsively and get badly hurt. I think that when that happens, one of this council says something pretty insulting to Charlie. And what it actually is doesn't matter. But Tamsin, without thinking, deals a blow against him of a magical nature, which just confirms everyone's fears and suspicions immediately, and they start trying to physically subdue her, and a fight breaks out. And she manages to leave with Charlie, but it was a physical fight. They were trying, and so she's hurt, and has to. I think in a actually a very withdrawn, like self-destructive way. She just looks at Charlie and then looks at her door and opens it, and it's like a blasted, arid taiga, like a barren landscape, and she just walks into it and slams the door behind her.
Yeah, I love that. So after the fight, I think what Minerva does is they take Tamsin, and like Minerva's like, you are not sleeping in the taiga tonight. Like, just like goes in there. This is like, you're pack up the bedroll. You're not doing this, and instead takes her all the way up to the observatory, and also I think and Charlie too, and the three of them just have like effectively a slumber party and like just stay up all night hanging out in the observatory and like goofing around, and like it's just kind of just helping to once again, like through routine and kind of through comfort and through sort of like reminding Tamsin of the way in which the world kind of has cycles and rhythms and things can be kind of kept in. Minerva is able to kind of guide Tamsin out of it through friendship, and then like, watch the sunrise together, sleep in really late, back to business the next day.
Lovely.
Sweet. I like that.
So Minerva doing something nice for Tamsin.
And human, actually, for once, just like a nice, normal human thing to do.
Minerva is a human. They're
I know.
They're just an emotionally constipated human.
I feel emotionally constipated. I feel like it's also very fun for Charlie to hear this from Minerva, because this is Charlie's first time hearing any like anti-witch sentiment, and she's like really rattled. And I feel like Minerva, they'd be like, oh, people are always talking about witches. There's witch. You can't pay attention to these fucking people. This comes and goes. It's cyclical. It's like you're saying, like it's rhythmic. Like, I don't know. It feels very fun to like, this is a situation that like perspective would be really meaningful to Charlie.
Yeah.
The next card, yeah, absolutely. And like Minerva does take it actually seriously. Like Minerva is clearly kind of in a position where it's like, oh, like, no, this is actually upsetting. And it seems like it's less that like, it almost seems a little bit like Minerva is like, it's like, it conflicts with their philosophy to be rattled about it, but it's personal, like it rattles them on a personal level. The next card is, yes, go for it.
Oh, can I add something very frivolous to that scene that I think is
please?
I realized I never described how Tamsin looks. I didn't actually have a clear idea until just now. I think that Tamsin has like shockingly white hair, just from root to tip, and I think it turned white when her magic manifested. And it's very long. It just constantly grows, and she constantly has to cut it, but sometimes she gets lazy or tired and just braids it in a very tight braid down her back, and it almost looks like vertebra, like the bones of a spine going down her back. And it's a very intricate braid, and I think that it's easier to do when there's like one or two people helping her.
Oh.
So if you're okay with it, I think during this fucking slumber party, the two of you are helping braid my hair.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, note on, just while we're doing appearances, Minerva has like metallic silver hair. And they've got like the very dark skin and the very metallic silver hair, and then like these like freckles along their face that kind of it's all very constellation looking.
Ooh, I love
it. Charlie is like beanpole thin, and I think maybe the tallest of the three, very gangly.
Yeah.
She is like, she also, I think, looks the most normal. Like she's from the most like human in terms of like from this village. She has that like Mediterranean glow of just being out in the sun all day. Very frizzy brown hair in like a crazy poofy ponytail, and like Coke bottle, like cataracts glasses, the kind that like magnify. Her eyes are like bigger in her glasses as a result of how thick the lenses are.
Yeah.
When she's not with two other witches, it's just like, oh, that's that like skinny girl who bakes a lot, and that's like, it's like, yeah, that's it. Yeah. Awesome.
Very good. So the next card is the Queen of Swords, and that is for the Wild Spirit to read.
Okay. Queen of Swords. Someone from my past, someone I care for, is in danger. The pure heart will annoy me with 3 questions about who this person is and what they mean to me. The old soul will try to warn me what trap lies in wait for me. Then you will decide whether to help me or wash your hands of the situation. If I solve this challenge personally, I'll add my friend to the sanctuary page. So I'll define who they are, or is it that the pure heart is going to ask me the 3 questions and then it's defined through that?
I think you define and then no. The pure heart asks, because the pure heart will annoy you with questions about who this person is.
Yeah.
Okay. First question. About who this person is, what they mean to me. What is your relationship to this person?
I think that they were my lover. I think that it was like kind of my first love, because I'm pretty young, so yeah.
Between the two of you, who is more at fault for why it ended?
I think I say it was her, and I think that she did end things, but I know it was me.
How what is the thing that has changed in this person's life since they were with you that is most painful for you to discover that is new about them?
I think I see them. I think I see them harvesting mussels and limpets and other like shellfish that cling to rocks in the tide pools with their child. I think they have a very young child that's actually like strapped to them. And there's a man somewhere that I don't see very clearly because he's off in the water diving. But the way that she's keeping an eye on him, it's clear that she's his like land anchor. She's his diving buddy, like making sure that he's okay. And it's not hard to put it together that they're a family.
So your lover, she was once a great and noble hero. And I think what perhaps shocks you just as much about her settling down with the family, also that she has settled down. However, a danger has faced her village, her remote village, and she has had to go on one last great quest with her child. And if you pursue her, you will have to. She is in danger. She has been captured by. It's like a like some kind of horrible Cyclops situation where she's in a cave, and you must brave treacherous seas and go on a whole little mini odyssey to deal with it.
I'm absolutely going to, because I'm physically absent for this. So that's perfect. I mean, I think that Tamsin would. I think it's like one of those do it first, overthink it and agonize about it later situations where the second that I hear, I'm going to give her a quick name. That Doc is in peril. I don't think about it. I think I swipe. I think there's like a little kind of like like a blessings jar where people who come to us for smaller spells or like smaller witchcraft will leave like the change in their pockets there. And I think I take all of it and I buy a boat to where I know I can most easily get to where Doc is. And I have, I know that I have everything I need. And I think maybe Charlie finds a note from me that's like scrawled on the first thing I find. Maybe it's something important too, like the grocery list. And it just says, gone out.
Incredible.
I am going to exclaim my neutrality on the matter. I know where you have gone. This is a little bit of a mythic quest kind of vibe, you know? Like, this is like foretold in the stars, and I'm just like, it is not a witch's place to like intervene in the questing of a hero. Like, this is supposed to be a story told of by bards, and it's not our place. So,
I think the folly I will play here. Also, you're physically absent. You go to get a boat. I'm going to imperil myself by getting in our little dock's like rowboat and try to row after you, mistaking the waters of the open sea for our little like bay or inlet, and cannot keep up with you at all, and I'm just shunted back to the cove and can't follow you out to help you. How is Tamsin gonna solve this?
Okay. So you're just shunted back to the bay, but you're safe. Is that right?
I think Charlie is safe. I think it's like a matter of inexperience. Like you like have a note that says "gone out," and it's and in my head I'm like, well, if Tamsin was going to do something really foolish, she would have said something more than "gone out." And then later Minerva is like, no, absolutely, Tamsin would write "gone out" before she like shifted to another dimension or reality. She could be in the underworld for all you know. And I'm like, what? I'm gonna get in this boat, and by that time it's just way too late. I did imperil myself, but I think I'm safe.
Yeah. I think that once I get to, let's say it is a Cyclops. Let's just go for it and say it's a Cyclops. Once I get to the Cyclops' island, there are gigantic wild boar that roam the island. They didn't used to be that big, but over time the corrupted magic of the island has made them grow. And right now it's spring, and so there are a lot of young, and I managed to jump up and cling onto the underbelly of one of these young wild boar, which is still like, it's the size of an elephant. And underneath its hair, I'm able to see where the Cyclops' island is, or where its den is, where I know that it's keeping Doc. And I think I need to check this.
I was gonna say, do you have 30?
True magic. What's that?
Do you have 39? True magic. You're doing true magic. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm doing true magic. Although, let me count really quickly. 7. How much is a page again? 13?
Page is 11.
11. Okay. I'm going to do some very quick addition. I have 33. So yeah, I'm going to use true magic. I'm going to, I think once I'm within line of sight of the Cyclops' cave, but it's clear that I can't get there on foot in time, I let the dream take me, and the incantation is something to the effect of I don't know, like a seed on the wind, just take me where I may. And my sword appears in the air in front of my hand, and I use it to carve a seam into the earth in front of me. And as it's like rupturing, it's like paper catching on fire. And as the embers are falling in, I jump in, and a portal opens in the ceiling of the Cyclops' cave, and I fall through, and I kill it after a long, protracted, painful battle. I sear its eye out with my sword and then just cut down, and it topples to the ground, and I am able to lead Doc back out to the shore where the boat is waiting, and we go back. And I'm going to Get rid of my willingness to listen to reason.
Oh no. You also get to add Doc to the Friends of the Sanctuary, though.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh, good. Perfect.
Oh man, Tamsin is going deeper and deeper.
I know. Actually, I have a question. Should I get rid of willing to listen to reason, or should I get rid of afraid?
Afraid.
Okay.
It's afraid, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, get rid of afraid.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool.
Cool. 6 of Wands. Awesome.
Right.
6 of Wands. Let's see who reads the 6 of Wands. That's Sun. Is that Jamie? That's Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? Jamie is eating a wrap right now.
Done. I'm done.
Oh, done.
I just literally needed to. I scarfed that down.
Woo!
I look like I've got makeup on because of the buffalo chicken, but that's fine.
Incredible.
6 of Wands. Oh, I think I remember the 6 of Wands. I think I really like it. I like, I like them all, but a denizen from the underworld has stolen my voice and is riding around on the countryside on its strange steed. I must discard a wisdom card or else strike a source. The holder of the star will tell us how it tricked my speech away from me, and the holder of the moon will tell us what strange declarations it's making across the country. How can we put an end to the chicanery and restore my voice?
Incredible. The holder will tell us how it tricked my speech away from me. I think that this I think that Minerva was in the underworld doing incredible arcane dealings with the All Hands, and was in this extremely intense version of the oldest game that lasted for like 9 hours. And at the very end wrested some control of some incredible magic away from the All Hands, turned away to re-enter the world, and some minor, like one of these like goblin merchant like spore things, literally in a moment as Minerva was like leaving victorious, turned to them and was like, "Excuse me, Minerva, may I have a word?" And you were like, "Of course." And then it went, "Ah!" and jumped away. And you were like, and it was like, okay, it's like oldest trick in the book, like, "May I have a word?" Oh God, like
that's some entry level shit. Yeah.
I love that so much.
Just
I think that not only has it tricked your speech away from you, Minerva, but this little goblin has actually, it's like a little orb that it can like reverberate out, and so it's using your voice as it is riding. It's on a strange steed. Is this a small goblin, Charlie? Is this like a little one, or is it a normal?
I think it's a small orb makes sense to me. Yeah.
Oh, I meant the goblin itself.
The goblin itself. Yes, I think I picture them itty bitty, but that's just me.
Yeah. Okay, great. So it's riding on a rabbit. It's riding on a jackalope, actually. And it's like sprinting through the countryside. And just from your description of it, I'm gonna say that it is just a sheer, like, no malice, but also no goodness either. Chaotic little turd, and it's using your voice to shout like very minor hexes that don't actually work because they don't have your magic behind them, but the people hearing them are like, "Oh fuck," and like looking to themselves and being like, "Do I still have my wallet? Do I still have everything?" And like, it's just causing a lot of destruction without actually doing anything, all in your voice. And so people are like, "What the hell is Minerva doing? What's going on?"
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great.
Incredible. I think I'm gonna do a folly in this one, which is, I think I'm gonna do one I haven't done before, which is stumble into a contract you don't understand. Which is I found this thing right away, and I was like, I was about to do some true magic to like get it back, and it really played on my pity for it, as like it's been trapped in the underworld forever. And it said, can you just promise that you'll only capture me tomorrow? And I was like, of course. But of course tomorrow never comes, it's always today. And so I was like, and so I get back and I'm like, well, I'll go to it tomorrow. And like I guess like Minerva has to like silently like it's like no, don't you, like, Charlie, it's never gonna be tomorrow. I'm like, oh,
that's how the trick works.
Like, oh no,
this goblin's doing like entry level nonsense on you, Charlie. Brennan, I also just want to appreciate that you have an encyclopedic knowledge of fairy tricks.
It's really impressive. It's
yeah.
great.
Oh, that warms my heart so much. I love tricky fairies. Incredible. So Charlie got bamboozled right out of the gate.
Yeah, I feel like Tamsin isn't super far behind. In a weird way, in spite of being powerful witches, I do love that it's like the humble undergrowth creatures that are able to bring us down. And I'm going to choose as my folly, be goaded into making the wrong move. That seems on brand. And I am going to say that this goblin stumbles on Tamsin as Tamsin is like coming back from this long, arduous quest. There was probably a very intense and emotionally painful conversation with Doc on the way back. She had to watch Doc be embraced by her husband and then like go back to her like, beautiful home with its, you know, cheerful smoke coming out of the chimney. And she's going back to the sanctuary feeling completely empty. And then like here's Minerva's voice hexing her to like, I don't know, like lose her teeth or something like that. And it's like, what the fuck? But nothing happens. And then she's like squinting and being like, say something again. And like manages, the goblin like comes out and is like, heh heh. And over like the course of Tamsin trying to catch it and squash it and just like a bunch of other things, I think the goblin says, wait, you're clearly way stronger than me. How about we do this with a battle of wits? And Tamsin's like, that's fine. And the goblin challenges her to a riddles contest. And she just like loses hard. Like riddle number. I think Tamsin asks some like very basic riddle thinking it's fantastic. And the goblin
2 legs in the morning.
Yeah, just like fuck. Yeah, exactly. 2 legs in the morning.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
Something that sounds simple, and Tamsin's like, is it like the wee man, right? Like the wee man in a red coat, a staff in my hand, a stone in my throat. What am I? And Tamsin's like, it's you fucker. And he's like, nope. What is it? She's like, is it a gnome? Nope. What is it? Is it a human? And he's like, you can't ask clarifying question. And she just like gets into that trap, and she's just like stuck because of the goblin magic, just like stuck guessing things constantly while the goblin has like fucked off, right? She's talking to like its shadow, trying to guess this riddle, and it's just stuck on the road, unable to figure it out.
So good. I think, how the hell do I solve this with wisdom? I think I go to, I think what I do, actually, you know what I do? So the goblin has been hurling out these minor hexes, right? And I think what I do is I kind of like lag behind the goblin a fair bit, gathering the hexes as he hurls them out, like the words. I kind of like pick up and scavenge the hexes, and I kind of like bundle them together into like, until I collect enough of them that I can turn them into a sentence. And I finally, like, I've gathered up enough, and I go to the goblin, and I give the goblin a new name. And I name it like, you know, like horrible toadstool, no tooth, boggart babe, footless nose beast. You know, I just give it like some name that's an amalgam of different curses. And the goblin is so horribly embarrassed that he flees back to the underworld. And as he flees, I grab my voice and put it back in my mouth, and I can speak again.
Oh yeah, love that.
I love it.
That.
I love it.
Love that we all just fully get how fairies are.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
Like, I felt very in tune with all of you in that moment. So yeah, great, perfect.
That was great.
All right. Yeah, we have solved that one. Next card. There we go. We were looking at the 6 of Cups.
6 of
Cups challenge. Cups challenge. Cups
The
challenge.
Fool.
You.
That's me. I want to know how the two of you first met and who you were to each other back before we were a coven. I'll approach one of you to beg the story out of and ask 6 questions. When my curiosity is sated or your patience expires, the third coven mate who was eavesdropping may take me aside to correct the story. If I get the truth, we solve the challenge. If I don't deserve to hear it, we fail.
So who do you pester? Do you pester me or do you pester Minerva?
I think I pester Minerva because they just got their voice back. And I feel like they'll be happier to talk. And I know that Tamsin was like, I think I still feel so sad that Tamsin was injured in a fight that was partially my fault, and then had this brutal, like, the fight against the like angry townsfolk, and then went on this dangerous mission to save Dog. I think I know that Tamsin's having like a hard time right now. So I will ask. I'll ask Minerva. What drew you to Tamsin in the first place?
What drew me to her?
Yes.
I think you completely misunderstand. She was drawn to me.
What about you drew Tamsin to you?
I mean, I guess I was there. We both practiced magic. She missed Doc. That's all.
What is unique about Tamsin? What was the first thing about Tamsin that you believed was unique to her?
Well, I'd never really fallen in love with anyone, and I've never been in love since. And I wasn't in love very long, but there was that moment, you know.
Charlie's
like a dream, like a mirage. Just I was in love for a moment, and then it was gone. So that was unique.
What do you think how has my presence in the coven changed the way you two relate to each other?
I mean, without you, it was just sort of, I kind of would alternate between being very distant and very present, and she would alternate between being very distant and very present, and we just kept falling together, drifting very far away. Before you were here, I mean, she would sometimes spend like weeks in other places, in other worlds, and I'd spend weeks up in my observatory. So you're a reason to stick around.
Do you ever wish you had acted more on that initial spark you felt towards Tamsin?
I mean, yes, of course, all the time, but the past is the past.
Do you think Tamsin felt the same thing you felt?
I've never asked. And with that, Minerva just walks away.
I think very shortly after Minerva walks away, Tamsin walks into... Was this all happening in the kitchen, I imagine?
Yeah, this was happening in the kitchen. Minerva was like getting themselves some tea to like deal with their throat.
I think there's a good like 90 seconds where the water is boiling or about to boil, where Charlie knows she can grab Minerva for 90 seconds, like reliably.
Yeah, this is like very rapid fire then, huh?
Yeah,
for sure.
Bam, 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 bam. Yeah.
I feel like Minerva is probably reliably distracted maybe by that questioning and their own like arcane thoughts as usual, that it's very easy for Tamsin to have been walking into the kitchen, heard her name, and then thought like, I'm just gonna see, and then she hears everything.
Oh no.
And Minerva just walks out, and you could have seen me, except that you're going the other way, so you just like really don't notice, which is like very typical.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And I very typically don't stand on tact or like pretending that I wasn't there, and I just walk in the kitchen and go to the larder for some apples, and I start slicing myself some apples. What do you do, Charlie?
I'm going to look over, and I think Charlie is intuitive enough to know that Tamsin walked in way too quickly to not have Charlie's voice, which is I think Charlie's kind of tall, so I think her voice is in a little bit of a lower register, but man, does it spike when she's not speaking her mind. So it just shoots up a couple octaves, and she's just like, huh, seems like Minerva's doing well now that, you know, their voice is back. Just like, whoo, and a little eyebrow raises towards Tamsin as an invitation.
Tamsin doesn't like pause in carving up the apple, but she does, without looking at Charlie, say, we both know that Minerva sees everything, and that she's very powerful, but that doesn't mean she can't be wrong. And then Tamsin looks up and makes direct eye contact with Charlie and says, they just think they were in love with me. They mistook envy for their own feeling. When they met me, I was still grieving Doc, and they'll never be able to feel that way. It's just not something they can do, but they saw how consuming it was, and they saw how it powered my magic, and they wanted it, and it was like water just sliding down a hill. And it was actually really hard to be here. That's why I had to leave for so long, so often. When you came here, it was a little better. That's all. And then she takes her apples and leaves.
So there is a reverberating silence from the kitchen as Charlie just kind of stands there. Charlie is 21, and I'm going to say right now has chastely kissed 2 people, and that is the length and breadth of her experience in these matters. It just kind of stares blankly ahead.
Yeah, Tamsin, do we think that was the truth?
I think it was the truth.
I think it was the truth.
Yeah.
I think that was the truth. I think love that Minerva dealing with some compulsory allo romanticism. Minerva, I think it was jealousy. I think that perhaps to Tamsin it felt like the jealousy was longer than it was. I think Minerva just like never like, I think like Minerva kind of like dealt with it, but there was kind of that impossible line between like, was this, you know, like how much of this is Minerva being a weirdo versus like how much is Minerva repressing a combination of emotions.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that was true. I think that we both told the truth. So
yeah, I think so too.
I love that.
Cool, it has been solved. What a good fucking card.
Charlie just stressed as fuck bakes like 10 pies.
God, true.
You know, I thought the bananas were So there you go.
Oh my God, so yeah.
I love it.
So good.
The next card is the Knight of Swords.
Sorry, I missed it. Where'd it go?
The Knight of Swords. Where is it? This is for the Magician.
All right. The kingdom is now at war with one of its neighbors.
No!
I know. If it was already at war, it's now fighting on 2 fronts. I'll write down this neighboring power's name, and we'll each supply one detail about it. A foreigner from our neighbor state has fled onto the sanctuary's grounds, and a mixed mob of guards and angry common folk are demanding we turn over the spy. What do we do? If we solve this challenge with wisdom, we may add a friend to the sanctuary. I think that while this archipelago is made up of a a grouping of city-states and nation-states, there is one nation-state that is bigger and more densely populated and more militarily organized than most of the others. Let's call it Savannah.
Is it does it consider itself part of like the archipelago, like
yes,
Serpentine?
I think it does.
Yeah.
I think it does. It is definitely a follower of the Serpentine. In fact, what the leadership of Savannah likes to say is that they are favored by the Serpentine, that the sun warms their land more than others. And so they're constantly just pushing trade agreements, military boundaries, like anything that can be defined as a border, they're constantly pushing, sometimes gently, but more often lately much harder. And at one point they push between or they push on our city-states boundaries too hard, and there's blood spilled, and it's ugly. And
I think
I think it starts something big.
I think the I think the detail I want to add to that is that I think that it's almost like a World War I sort of situation where Savannah does that, and then it like prompts retaliation, and then there's like some members of the Serpentine who like are with Savannah who are like, no, we disagree with the rest of the Serpentine. This is like just war. We are right to retaliate, and so it sparks this like the first actual war that the archipelago has seen in some time, where it's like actually the Serpentine is infighting.
Right.
And Brennan, do you want to add a detail also?
I'm going to add a detail. Savannah is the province of Autocrat Gentle. This is an active move to elevate her power against the Serpentine. This is an active thing of like a religion may be able to thrive during peacetime, but we got swords to sell. We need to have boats to build. We want people scared. Let's bust a move.
Love that.
That's what I think.
Cool. So who is the spy?
Who is the spy?
Well, let me also write down Savannah as the neighboring kingdom.
We now have 2 neighboring kingdoms.
Where did Riparian go? Okay.
Riparian is over there. I put that back.
I'll write both of them down in the green so we know it was on my turn.
Oh yeah. So this is the sort of thing. However, so we kind of want to get the spy as a friend, right? Like if we can solve it with wisdom, I think that would be nice.
I agree, but I
like friends.
This is going to be 36, right?
Yes, this is 36.
I can't do that, so I think that I'm going to reveal too much, endangering the coven. I think that when we get this sort of like foreign agent in our coven, I think that we've like helped our city state enough that I'm like, well, like we have the spy, so we're going to protect the spy until we determine how to get the spy back across enemy lines. But it's no problem with you guys. We're not going to let him go free and go do more spying. And they're like, and the people that I tell are like, you're all under arrest, and I'm like, what? And then so I think I actually am the reason they find out that this spy is in our sanctuary.
How many did we need to solve this with wisdom?
36.
I have 38, and I'm just gonna blow it all. Yeah.
Cool. Perfect.
Whoa.
Yeah. Cool. I'm gonna real quickly do a folly about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to dispense unsolicited advice communicated poorly. Which is also I'd like to can I pitch a spy real quick?
Yeah.
I'd like to pitch the younger daughter of Autocrat Gentle.
Ooh, I love that.
Who was on business in our city state when things broke out, and like that's kind of like a weird like it's kind of a little iffy about whether or not that was Autocrat Gentle pulling bullshit about her daughter,
Mm-hmm.
But I think my unsolicited advice communicated poorly. It's just that I am like, I kind of like I think you kind of like turn to me and you're like, this is a bad war. This is like clearly a thing we need to deal with. And I'm just like, well, then we deal with it. And you're like, what? Like, where do we, like, how do we just, what do you mean? Like, what do we do? And I'm just like, the stars say to, like, you know, when you like read a tarot deck and you're like, tarot, how do I solve my problem? And the tarot deck is like, you solve it. And you're like, thanks. Where do I go from there? You know? I think that's kind of what Minerva does. Minerva's just like, the stars say that we need to solve it. And you're like, how? And Minerva's like, well, you do. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, even better, like, how do I do this thing? And the answer's like, well. You're like, cool, so no pressure. Now I just well, great.
Well,
all right, let me spend all of this wisdom all at once.
Woo, baby.
Cool.
Woo!
Big deal. I've got I have a
Big
total
money.
of 38. There's the 5 of Pentacles, the 9. I'm just gonna throw it all out there.
Yeah,
and
just throw it all out there. I'll put it away in the pile.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so now I have no wisdom cards whatsoever.
Oh no.
I'm going to share with you guys, the last 2 wisdom cards I drew were both aces. So even though I have 5 wisdom cards, I don't have a lot of swinging power right now.
Oh no. Well, that's also what's interesting is that the lower wisdom cards are less valuable, but when they come up as challenges, they immediately do bad things. So
Yes.
even if you the fact that we have 2 aces out of the pool is helpful.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
So yeah, how do you solve it?
I think this is one of those rare, very rare, like level up, much like with the dignitary from Ripariana that Tamsin was able to talk out of the duel by like offering to sacrifice her own reputation and forfeit. This is like a rare moment of diplomacy where there is a mob outside of the sanctuary walls clamoring for clamoring for the blood of this young woman who we keep calling her a spy, but no one actually knows. She just has sort of like the current bad luck to have been born a blood relative of Autocrat Gentle. And I think that Tamsin, oh wow, this is sort of true magic.
I feel like you can do a bit of magic. It just can't be like, you know, like whack. Like
I think Tamsin goes out, and she's not necessarily a very gifted speaker, but as she is talking to this crowd, and it is like dozens, if not maybe 100 people with, you know, homemade to actual like manufactured military weaponry, saying that they just want to take her into custody. But the level of hostility is like, you could taste it. It's so thick in the air. And when Tamsin starts speaking, there is like a dream-like quality to her voice that sifts over the crowd, and they all feel lulled into a sense of just kind of being present without being spiked. And what Tamsin is saying is, if this person actually is a spy, which we don't know, then the stakes are higher than anything any of us can conceive. And the best thing you could do is to leave her in the hands of 3 powerful witches who can use all kinds of tools that, frankly, you do not possess, in order to know how much danger we're in or whether we're in no danger at all. And I think that she's not a great orator. She doesn't have an extensive vocabulary, maybe, but just her voice is enough to honey everyone enough to leave. And they all just go back quietly to their homes, and Autocrat Gentle's daughter is now in our house.
Cool. What's her name?
Let's say
so many friends.
I know, it's kind of nice.
It's really nice.
We have so many friends and still no living spaces. I'm so sorry.
I know.
At least we've got safe shelter for the lost, but you surely burned up our living spaces.
I'm gonna say her name is Yarrow.
Yarrow. Very, love that. Cool. So we have solved that challenge.
Oh, no.
The next card is the 8-0 Pentacles. The Pentacleroonies.
The Fool, that's me.
That's you!
Despite their mistrust, the kingdom has had an endless stream of requests for us to fulfill. We'll each say one kind of labor the coven has taken on for the kingdom's leaders or general populace. The coin has been nice, but we're starting to fall behind. Myself especially, I'll admit, I miss having time for other things. How can we put our lives back in balance? I love this.
8 of Pentacles is 24. Nope, can't solve that one.
Well, I know I'm taking a folly, so I'll just...
I'm a folly this also. All right, Brennan, you got to fix this. I am going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to, the way I'm going to handle it is I am going to depart on mysterious business. And I feel overwhelmed, so I leave.
I'm going to blame the cowardice of one of your coven mates. When Minerva leaves, I'm going to have kind of an intense spike of frustration. And I think Charlie might have the misfortune of doing the basic, decent thing of asking if Tamsin is okay. And she explodes at Charlie and says, she's just so frustrated. And I think it's the lingering, just everything lingering from everything that's happened over the course of this game. And she says, every time there's a situation where we need them, Minerva just leaves. And witches don't do that if their magic is true. Witches don't do that if their magic is rooted in what they are seeking. It's not right. And at some point, Charlie, maybe you or I are just going to have to step up, because if Minerva keeps leaving this way, one of us is going to have to carry their weight. But not today and not me. I'm going to leave too. And she retreats to her room.
Are you sulking in anger?
I'm sulking in my room. I'm sulking.
Oh my God, we both run away. It's just Charlie at the sanctuary right now.
I'm sorry. This is how we lost all our living spaces, guys.
Yeah, this is really how it happened.
I know.
Charlie looks around at all of the dirt and mess and filth that has clogged up all the living spaces, which is the physical manifestation of Charlie's childish grudge at not being praised enough. She thinks of her two coven mates who she was supposed to take care of and who she allowed to get so stressed and overworked that they both had to flee. She feels a profound sense of failure. She is going to work 2 acts of true magic. She looks at all of the work that's come in from the kingdom for both Minerva and Tamsin and herself that she was falling behind on. And through an act of true magic, she uses her magic of like animating household objects and things, and true Sorcerer's Apprentice style just creates a lot of like teacup, broomstick, couch cushion servants to get through all the work in the longest night possible. In the next, whenever Tamsin or Minerva return, all of their work, in addition to Charlie's work, has been completed. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of. The reason I'm doing 2 acts of true magic is I'm going to bring our living spaces back, which I don't think is an act of magic I can necessarily do, but I want to check with you.
I don't think that's an act of magic you can do.
Okay, maybe
I
that's
don't think
not.
true magic can get us. I think you can like through your true magic, you are cleaning up the living space. Like that's all part of one act, but we're not actually getting back
Let
the
me
living
know.
spaces. You know?
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
So
like
we won't have.
that is like they'll be clean, but we won't be
Yeah,
comfortable there. You
gotcha.
know?
Oh, that's a great point. I love that.
Yeah.
So you return to them that theoretically Charlie has done the work to make these livable again, but they're not really. I'm still going to strike off 2 sources for me because I think that Charlie would care about bringing the living spaces back, even though she really can't.
Yeah.
Charlie is no longer sprightly. She is exhausted, and she no longer has love for herself.
Oh my God. Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's sad. That's very sad.
Hold on.
So there is no fanfare or harumph in this magic. Like it is just one of those things where those workloads that Minerva and Tamsin maybe were stressed about are just gone the next time they check in with them.
Yeah, and I think what happens for Tamsin at least is she realizes fairly quickly that she owes Charlie an apology and comes downstairs to try to find her in the kitchen, and everything's done, and just feels like the weight of her guilt kind of pressing down on her and her like pristine stack of things that she was supposed to do. Yeah.
Great. All right. The next one is the 8 of Cups, which is what do you call it? That's the Fool.
I've just received a letter from the home I had before the coven. Something is amiss there. The wild spirit will say what, and I have to go back and see it righted. I'll tell you my plan, and the old soul will say why they disapprove. Then, if either of you have a wisdom card you can offer me, you may hand it over and tell me what vital aid you're lending me for my journey. If neither of you lend me aid, I'll strike a source for the magic I inexpertly waste, and we fail to solve this challenge.
I think that you come from sort of like an agricultural basket, like a cornucopia, and where a lot of things are grown that feed the rest of the island. And I think the crops are failing, and they're failing in a way that indicates magic. Either every time a seed is planted, something takes it away, or it grows up through the ground already rotten. And that's what's happening.
Ooh. Okay, I'll tell you my plan. I love the idea of there are like things taking the seeds as they're planted. So Charlie's plan is to go there and just ask the local spirits there why like the birds and mice and bugs and things like that are descending, like what has gotten them out of whack, and just see if she can't talk sense to whatever force is motivating these animals. She'll just talk to the animals themselves and offer them a better deal than whatever the spirit is offering them.
Charlie, you are far too inexperienced to be bargaining with powerful nature spirits and old gods of that nature. The god that is the problem is no mere spirit. It is an ancient god from before the Serpentine. And if you try to do that, you're just gonna get tangled up in a mess, and your focus on the small picture is just gonna destroy you.
Respectfully, Minerva,
I'm not here. I'm just telling you why it's a bad idea. I'm not here.
Oh, okay. And I'll tell you my plan. The also will say why they disapprove. Cool. Then Charlie. So Charlie remains unaware that that's how Minerva feels. Cool. Charlie gets a cloak and a rucksack and a walking stick and some good sandals and gets ready to head out.
I will give you one of my wisdom cards.
Okay, good. Someone's gonna do it. I wasn't gonna do it.
I'm going to give you my 7 of Cups.
Ooh.
What wisdom do you offer?
What's happening there?
There we go. Fate card.
Yeah. I think Minerva doesn't say those things out loud. I think that Tamsin is still like kind of cognizant of them. And on her way out, Charlie, you hear behind, there's like a sort of dirt path that leads away from the sanctuary onto the main road. And as you're almost at the main road, you hear behind you Tamsin calling your name. And she has something in like a hastily wrapped with burlap and twine packed like bundle. And she's jogging toward you to hand it off to you.
Charlie turns around.
I take both your hands with uncharacteristic urgency and I clasp them closed over the packet. And I tell you, what you're trying to do is probably a bad idea, but I don't want to stop you. I don't think I should. You do need to know that this is closer to wild magic than anything you've dealt with before. And when you're dealing with wild magic, you need protection. So please, just for my sake, keep this with you. It's a simple talisman, but it'll help, I think. And then she just whirls around before you can say anything and runs back to the house.
Charlie stands there very moved by Tamsin's kind display.
I gave you my biggest card. The lesser card was a 6, so you know.
Tamsin is extremely, or Charlie is extremely moved by Tamsin's kindness, and I think can tell that there is like, you know, mostly she gets Tamsin's raw, like the raw end of Tamsin's stick a lot of the time, but I think that she can tell that Tamsin has done more maybe than Minerva has to really show Charlie that she cares a lot. And I take your wisdom card, I go back to my hometown, I find this ancient, angry river guardian spirit, this like old centaur kind of looking, you know, some like big old river thing. And as I go to speak with him to ask him to please not harm this place anymore, or like what have the people done here that has angered you, and I begin to see like the mess I got myself in, and I can tell that this older spiritual entity is like mocking me for coming here and being kind and trying to solve this with kindness and respect, and that this is not going to work, and that Tamsin, not only was Minerva right in kind of a condescending way, but that Tamsin was also right in a much more caring way. I get really fucking angry. I don't use any wisdom cards. I use true magic. I destroy.
No. So this is a cups. This is a cups.
Oh, sorry.
It doesn't actually matter about whether or not you succeed at the dealing with the problem. It just matters how we handle you deemed to do it.
Gotcha. So you guys have fixed it by doing this. I thought I was going to have to do some wild stuff.
No. You just need to, you know.
I mean, you could.
You can still do some wild stuff. It just doesn't require you to mechanically punish yourself.
Okay, so mechanically, I won't punish myself. I get there, I put this talisman on, and when this dude fucks with me, I channel Tamsin and I blast his ass, and I tell him if he ever fucks with me or my people again, he'll have the wrath of 3 witches to face, and he can decide if that's something he's into or not.
Oh, hell yes! Hell yeah! Oh, Minerva, you need to do better.
Charlie gives Tamsin a very meaningful, a long embrace upon arriving back home.
That's very wonderful.
I think Minerva comes home shortly after and has no clue that any of that happened. Our next card is the Knight of Pentacles.
Ooh.
Scrolling.
Magician.
Magicians, that's you.
The merchant caravans carrying our spell regents, among other precious things, have been blockaded by a great beast. The pure heart will decide what dreadful form it takes, and the old soul will tell us its terrible power. If we're going to practice our craft undiminished, the creature must be dealt with. And if we solve this challenge with wisdom, we may add a new wonder to our sanctuary.
So, Pureheart, what dreadful form does this beast take?
Oh, you know that this is the great black dog of the underworld that's been pursuing me for ages and ages and ages.
Oh, yeah, I do. Oh, yeah.
I love it. I love it. And
sorry, and me. That's me. What is sorry, I just was doing math in my head. Its terrible power, I mean, of course it is the horrible black dog. I think what its terrible power is that it doesn't even like kill the merchant caravan. The merchant caravan is like bringing our supplies to us. And it's like they're traveling on the treacherous cliffs and they see the black dog along the path and then it's gone again. And then not a single one of them makes it to us alive. Like, through a series of increasingly improbable coincidences, every single one of them dies. And then when the next caravan comes through, the same thing happens. They just all, like, some fall off the cliff, some get, like, murdered in the streets. One of them just, just goes running into the sea. Like, every single one of them is destroyed by fate.
It's like Final Destination.
Yeah, true.
I really love it. No, I think that movie's legit scary. That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I can solve this with wisdom unless Charlie wants to. Yeah. Okay, cool. So if you want to folly?
Yeah, I'll take a folly. I'm going to I'm going to do more harm than good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I am going to try to stride in there and take it on myself. Mm-hmm. And what I end up doing is I end up incurring the black dog. Like, the black dog looks at me. Which
mm-hmm.
now, on top of needing to clear this path of this blockade, I also now need to make sure I don't get Final Destination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Coming hot off the heels of my confrontation with this ancient kind of nature deity, I go like full Disney princess and I'm like, this dog's been following me forever. It's up to me to defeat it. I'm the only one who can. And I get my little backpack on and I go to head off. And I think Minerva I literally like just shows me a passage from a book being like, hey, you need, I know you've like come up with this like story in your head. You are uniquely ill suited to handle this. Like, and I think I get throw a big tantrum and I like cry a lot. It's one of those things where it's like, no, like I was a badass. I stood up to that nature deity, and it's like now I'm always a badass forever. And get like, and I honestly like regress a little bit and throw a full tantrum. And I think I go sulk in frustration or humiliation.
Oh yeah. So I think the way Minerva settles it is Minerva solves this with wisdom. So what they do is they walk up into the paths and they find the dog, and the dog is like kind of like flickering in and out of the paths, like trying to curse them. And the dog like comes through to curse Minerva, and Minerva just like reaches out one of their hands and just kind of like boops the dog on the nose. And the dog kind of like just rolls over playfully, and Minerva like totally breaking like all of their facades of being this like very stoic individual. They just like grin and roll around on the ground with the dog and like play wrestle with it and like give it a big scritch, and then the dog just kind of like like licks their face a whole bunch and goes running off. And we get a new wonder for our sanctuary because I solved this with wisdom. And I think what we get is an underworld chew toy.
I love that.
I love it. Oh, Roland. Oh my God. Okay. There you go.
All right, boom. That took up all my wisdom cards, but I did it.
I feel like that's worth it. We have a dog now. We have Charlotte.
Well, we have a big chew toy. We don't have a dog.
Yeah.
We have a memory. That is still Charlie's Menace.
Yeah.
8 of Wands.
Ooh.
8 of Wands. Sun.
That's me.
Yeah.
I have been vanishing, literally and involuntarily, and my disappearances are getting longer each time. It seems like I'm being pulled into the underworld. The holder of the moon will tell me what strange visions it's showing me, and the holder of the star will tell me all the things I've missed in my absence from the sanctuary.
Oh my
I must
goodness.
discard a wisdom card or I'll strike a source. How can we anchor me back to the mortal world before I vanish completely? I have no wisdom cards, so I must strike a source. I am no longer lively. On the surface I am tidy and harmless, but I am not lively. So Moon, what strange visions is it showing me? What is the underworld showing me?
Yeah, I think every time you're pulled away from this world, it's like you were looking, that feeling that you were saying, like of like whenever your desk drawer is arranged differently, except that it happens to what's around you. So instead of it being something that you own that you can't find, it's like you blink and suddenly your whole room looks different. The way that when you're dreaming, you can just seamlessly go from like one landscape to another. So it starts off with little things like your chair is in a different spot or your bed is smaller, but it rapidly gets bigger. And again, to you, you think you're still in this world, but for me and Charlie, it's like Minerva just fades out into nothing. And it'll happen while we're talking over dinner. It'll happen in the middle of a ritual and like collapse the ritual. It just happens randomly. But for you, you think like that you just left the room, right? It all happens when we're together. But for you, it's like your memory also gets shifted, and it's like you think that you've just left the way that you always do.
Really good.
And then
I just kind of dissociate a bit,
yeah, and it's just, it gets more surreal and more intense every time. Bigger.
So good. Charlie, what have I been missing from while I've been gone?
Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like the friends of ours that Minerva had the biggest soft spots for were like Jax, actually. We've been doing this for years. Jax is kind of becoming a young man, and you missed you had a long enough absence that you missed his, like, either it's like his 15th or 16 might be too old, but like his 15th birthday, he's like getting to be tall. He's like not short anymore. He's taller. He's like you know, his interests are, as a result of that, are kind of changing. Like maybe he wants to be
Sorry, no, go ahead. You think he wants to be?
He might want to be like, he's talked about like wanting to learn how to be a sailor. Like he's not going to be a little urchin forever.
Oof. He's definitely trans. He's definitely a trans guy, though, right? Like we're all on the same page about that. But yes, no, for sure.
100%.
I think you also missed his first crush. You're like missing like little formative things like that. Like his first crush, like the first time that he was asked by an adult to have like a real high stakes adult response. Oh, watching the boat, sailing the boat, their family boat.
Oh my God! Jesus, this is brutal.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the underworld doesn't want you to be there in the places you're the most connected. That's why you keep getting taken when the three of us are together, and it's why you keep getting taken for periods that coincide with Jack's like growing up.
Wow, Jesus, yeah, that tracks. Oh my god. And Jax has got the skull next to his name.
Yeah.
Because
I don't know what that means.
he's got the ire of the underworld.
Oh.
So this isn't just about me, this is also about him.
Yeah.
So I have no wisdom cards, and I don't think I should do true magic about it. I am going to do a folly. I am going to fail to act until it's too late. I don't realize this is happening, even as you pointed out to me. I don't think it's a problem.
Wow. Go ahead, Charlie.
What are you thinking? Do you want to do magic? I can do it with wisdom or with magic. I'm leaning towards magic.
You're just itching to strike out sources.
Yeah, I kind of am.
Well, especially because something about this feels so dreamlike. I wonder if Tamsin should do true magic.
Charlie definitely has a fix for this, but if Tamsin has one, Charlie can also do a folly. I'm also not physically present for this.
Right. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I think what it is, I think there's like maybe there's like some kind of not like the big rite of passage coming of age ceremony, but like a smaller one for Jack. Like it's their birthday, actually. It's his birthday.
Yeah.
And there's a party. There's going to be like a dinner feast, and just like people who love Jax are going to be there. And I think maybe he started off as this like artful dodger, like, you know, people shaking their fists at him as he stole their coins and stuff. But over time, partially due to our mentorship, like he's become very beloved in the village. And so most everyone is going to come out to celebrate his birthday, because they're kind of celebrating that now he's actually like found a place in the village.
You all are just like pulling oof, big oof, damn.
Wants to go, but she can tell that this has to get solved and that Minerva is not taking it seriously enough. And so that's I think, how does that feel to you, Brennan? Like a plausible reason for Charlie to not be there?
I think that is, you know what I think is like, I'm not physically there. Like if Tamsin wants to solve this, I think I'm not physically there, and and I'm also going to do, I'll do if you want to solve this, I'm going to do the folly of ignore the wisdom of one of your coven mates, which is Tamsin kind of saying like, hey, Minerva's like at risk of like fully dissociating from the world. And I think Charlie is literally like, yes, of course. Oh, I got to get Jax's birthday cake ready. And is like, is right. physically absent. This is one of those moments where Charlie's love of the material and the tangible is actually blinding her to a bigger emergency where she's like drowning in the logistics of putting this together. So I'm going to draw a card.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got so many wisdom cards.
I know, it's so goofy.
You got a little bit less than a fifth of the deck.
It's true.
Yeah.
So what true magic do you work?
I'm gonna have to wrangle.
Oh no, you're good. Rat wrangle.
The fur, like the real fur, because it's warm, but then he pees in it and it's not. Go back in your basket. I think that what happens is when Tamsin realizes, because she initially had been hoping Charlie would help her anchor a ritual and the two of them could go into the underworld together to like grab Minerva and get out, but instead she sees that that's not going to be able to happen. And so like last time, she sort of hollows herself out and lets the wind scatter her, and like last time the flaming sword appears in front of her, but this time when she reaches for it, the flames turn a cold white. There's no color to them anymore, and there's no color to the sword. And as she reaches for it, it sinks into her hand, and her whole arm up to the shoulder loses all of its color. I think she has like really like rich tan skin, and it just goes like gray. And that quality she has sometimes where she moves and it's like a knife, or the fact that when she's in danger she can actually wield her stare, like it's literal now. Now she moves through the world and she just cuts a seam into the underworld. And every time there's an illusion, she just cuts through it until finally she sees a glimpse of Minerva's hair, and she follows, and then she sees Minerva's shoe kind of disappearing, and she follows until finally Minerva's in front of her, and she's able to clap a hand on her shoulder and then cut a seam back to the sanctuary and drag her back.
Yes.
And,
oh yeah.
And she is going to lose. I think now I'm going to lose my will to listen to reason.
Deep down, I love the fact that deep down you are caring and nothing else.
Yeah.
That seems perfect. And it seems like the last two things Tamsin has done have been these big acts to help her coven mates. I love that.
Yeah, I love that so much. Oh boy, we are really doing a lot of true magic. We really have a lot of
I mean, this is the beauty of like a playtest, right? It's like go
home.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, that's what's great about this actual place. Also, just does show what the game is like and the kind of choices you can make, and like the fact that like generally solving with wisdom is like the more tactically correct move often, but also it's just so exciting to solve it.
It is, and it's also like, why play a story game with like rich character connections and character development for what's tactically advantageous rather than what makes good story.
Well, for sure. I mean, I do think what's smart about the wisdom is that it's like it is both like a more like conservative use of your resources, but also like there's something nice about like outsmarting it rather than brute forcing it. But I love the fact that our group is so brute force it. You know what I mean? Like we're really like.
Well, it's been balanced. There were a couple times when we used wisdom when it would have been like narratively as satisfying to use true magic, but it was like, you know what? No, I think this is the time to actually.
I also love that there are different stages of like, because wisdom is clearly like the no harm to us resource spending option. Then the true magic does harm us, which creates a feeling, but it's not as severe as a challenge failure, which is like the most severe. It's staggered, and I mean, M really killed it.
No, so good. So our next challenge is the Queen of Wands.
Wands. I love the wands ones.
The wands are always so killer. That's me, High Priestess. Oh no, more problems for me. I have not left bed in 3 whole days, and I say that my underworld menace is present with me, waiting for me to die so that it can take my soul to the underworld, though neither of you can see it with the naked eye. How can we get me back up to my old business again? If we solve this challenge with wisdom, I may recover a stricken source.
Okay. I am going to
this is a queen note, so it'll take if we want to solve this with wisdom, it'll take 39.
I got it.
Oh, cool.
I'm not shocked to hear that.
Let me make sure that I do.
Do the math real quick. See, I know you got a couple aces in there.
25, 28. Oh yeah. Wait, how much is it? 30 what?
39.
I got 39.
Cool. All right, so I'm gonna mess up real quick. I'm going to withhold vital information from my coven mates, which is that I know why my underworld menace is here. I know why the black shadow hangs over my head and why cascades of unreadable text surround me. And I will not tell you why. It is not just to steal my soul when I die, but there's another worse reason.
Tamsin is going to underestimate the problem. And when Charlie comes to her with concerns, I think especially because Minerva is being very unforthcoming, Tamsin is just going to say, I mean, they get in their moods. It's whatever. And basically walks away from the problem without like leaving the house.
You're just so you're frustrated with me.
Yeah.
I would like to use one of our safety mechanics. I know that we set an intention that we wanted to verbally express using a safety mechanic.
Yes.
I would like to know if it's okay to introduce an element of real world struggling with depression into this scene.
Yeah, that feels really accurate. How do you feel, Jeeyon?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that seems correct. Yeah, that seems really good.
Charlie comes in armed to the teeth with tea and Minerva's favorite breakfast, lots of notes of love, and a long letter from Jax, who Minerva personally discovered and saved. And Charlie sits on the edge of the bed, lets Minerva have their tea, read all these words of love and affirmation, absent-mindedly massages some of Minerva's feet, like gets Minerva's feet and just rubs them softly through the blanket. And Charlie speaks and doesn't phrase it as an accusation, and actually talks around it so that the gestalt shape of it can kind of be perceived, like allows Minerva to retain their like status and wisdom by not saying it herself as Charlie, but as like kind of saying like, you know, Minerva, you are so far-seeing and wise, and you have had these moments of slipping into the underworld. You tangled with the dog, the sort of black dog of the underworld. You have been away for so much of the past few years. Your eye is ever present in worlds beyond. I also am noticing that you have not bathed or showered in a long, long time. It does not smell great in here. There's a mildew smell because your Stargate, the sunlight doesn't come in here at all. I don't see you ever being physically active. The way you sit at your orrery, I imagine hurts your back, and I see you keep taking the same herbal teas to help your back not be sore, and just goes through this whole list of things and leaves the opportunity for Minerva to second guess their impulse that this threat is mystical, and just is quiet for a moment.
That is the information that Minerva was keeping from you. It's definitely that. Is that the withholding vital information is that this is Minerva is very depressed, and I think that they are very scared of acknowledging the sort of like mundaneness, and to them almost like a little bit of like the shame of like, oh yeah, no, I just legitimately have depression right now. And I think Minerva kind of they wanted a supernatural explanation because it made them feel less like, it meant that they felt like they would get the sort of seriousness that they wanted, where they were like, I need people to understand that I'm in pain, and so I need to I'm not lying, I'm saying something different than what is true so that people will react appropriately. So people understand the gravity of what I'm going through, because they're scared that if they just said depression, that people would just think that they were and they were just depressed, which is ridiculous. That's it. That was Minerva's complex. And yeah, I think Minerva asks Charlie for her help, and it takes weeks and months and years, and Minerva kind of like has to sort of rebuild their own rhythms again, and kind of learn how to do that. And just like they've been doing for Tamsin, they have to do for themselves and get help with that. And they were not lying about the presence of the shadow overhead, and it never really leaves, but still.
Can I add something?
Please.
I think the way that Tamsin is going to pick up the slack here is, since Charlie is playing such an active role in caretaking for Minerva, Tamsin is actually going to attend to a lot of the housework, like the little house chores that Charlie do, and she doesn't do them amazingly, and like it takes her an hour where it would have taken Charlie like 5 minutes, but like that is the work she's willing to put in, and so she'll stay up for an hour past when she wants to be sleeping in order to do the dishes, when Charlie could have done it like that, like with a spell, and that's fine. And Charlie, maybe you notice, since Minerva might not be in a place to notice, that typically it's like anywhere between there are spans when it's every day to like once a week that Tamsin's door opens to another world. But for the last however long this is for Minerva, it stays in their sanctuary. She just stays in the house and she just goes to bed and then gets up the next day to help.
This is so sweet, y'all. This is oofing deep.
So yeah.
Wow. Yeah. You know.
I in 1,000 small touches throughout the day, Charlie like finds ways to like in knowing that Tamsin is comfortable doing this pincher movement on like house duties and Minerva duties. Charlie doesn't address that because that's not really her style, but there are just soft hands on Tamsin's shoulder all the time, and like little cups of tea when there's a moment to get in front of someone, of just these constant nonverbal ways of being like, I see what you're doing and so appreciate it. And I think that a lot of what Charlie does again is complete non-judgment of Minerva and what they need, but also a lot of those, like, you know, I think Charlie just shelled out 39 points of wisdom cards, and and a lot of that is literally just Charlie very carefully and non-confrontationally introducing elements into Minerva's routine that ground them in having to interact with a person or having to interact with a tangible mundane task. So being like, you know, like, oh, there's a place that actually has that tea that you really like, that I know you're tired of like when we stock up or not, but if you like it when it's freshly brewed, there's a woman at the corner who freshly brews it, and you could go out to the corner and get your whole day's supply. And then that's one moment where Minerva has to like walk down the house and talk to a friendly person in our neighborhood.
Wow. Yeah. Jesus. Wow, y'all, this hits different. This hits different in April of 2020, I gotta say. In the year in quarantine time, it hits different.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was really good. I think I want to move on to the next card. That was really good though. The Three of Wands. Let's see if I'm about to get my ass kicked again by different.
That is the Fool.
That is the Fool.
Whoa.
That is Charlie. What's going on with Charlie?
What is going on with Charlie? Let's see. What's this? What is this card again?
Oh, the Three.
Three of Wands.
Oh, aren't low ones bad?
Low ones are bad.
Oh no.
Aces, twos, and threes are rough.
I have awoken without warning or fanfare, with a horrifying mark of the underworld's menace on my face. Worse than the underworld's claim on me, and I'll discard a wisdom card. I can't even leave the sanctuary without it inspiring fear and alarm in the kingdom's populace. How do I get rid of this mark? Oh my god.
Yeah, so first things first, worsen the underworld's claim on you, and do what it says.
Add a new
folly.
Add a new folly to your page. Plead with the underworld for aid. And get rid of a wisdom card?
And get rid of a wisdom card, yeah.
Okay, I will discard the Two of Wands. Okay. Horrifying mark of the underworld's menace on my face, worse than the arrow's claim on me, and I'll discard a wisdom card. Can't even leave the sanctuary. I am going to immediately use my new folly, which is plead with the underworld for aid. I like have this horrifying I think that like I feel like I have like gaunt, like my skin has become like gaunt and translucent, and you can like see like the outlines of my teeth even when my mouth is closed through my skin. I think that I am like becoming like translucent almost, and I just like I do a quick like summoning circle and try to like beg with the all hands to like please release me from whatever this is, to no avail.
I can solve this with wisdom.
Nice.
Yeah. Wait, do we ever get the thing, the unstruck source from Minerva, by the way? Did you ever unstruck?
Oh, yes, I did. Sorry, yes, I did. I unstruck. I am now honorable.
Oh, wonderful.
I am back to being honorable. I am still I am still not. Oh god, what am I not? I'm still not something. I'm still not lively, but I am honorable.
Mm-hmm.
Lively seems like a little bit too much.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I will take my folly.
Mm-hmm.
I will put my coven mates in danger. I think that because of the last 2 times I've had to go into the underworld or deal with the underworld, when I see what's happening to Charlie, who at this point I probably feel closer to and quite protective of, I can no longer really listen to reason and probably don't have a deep wellspring of it myself. And my immediate impulse is to try to open myself to the will of the wild magic. And then I have like full faith that it's just going to take me to where I need to go and I'll have my sword and it'll be fine. But instead, what happens is the magic doesn't work. Like I leave myself open, but there's some kind of block and it just doesn't work. And in trying to get it to work, I decide to use a ritual to sort of jumpstart it, and the ritual backfires. Yeah.
I think the way I solve this with wisdom is not to like continue to have what do you call the wands be a depression metaphor, but I do feel like, I don't know, I feel like Minerva and Charlie maybe just go for a little vacation. Like, I think that I just bring you to, like, I bring you to a particular part, like this one island that is, instead of having harsh cliffs, it's like these hills, and there are like all these flowers in the hills. And it's just like, it's like in Little Women, you know, the part of Little Women where they go to the beach, Joe and the younger girl. It's like that kind of energy where we just like go to the beach together and like it's a vacation spot. And we just kind of like hang out there for a bit. And as you like swim around and as you hang out and as you get air and you just kind of feel like you just kind of like as you like, the more you paid attention to the way it looked, the worse it got. And then the moment you were kind of able to just be like hanging out, it just sort of it faded away until it was nothing.
Charlie is so grateful to Minerva for this wonderful gift. Yeah, I think that Charlie is like almost childishly gleeful as she realizes that this like simple act of wisdom has like restored her from this terrible curse. And I think she like has a long like tearful divulgence to Minerva about like how much joy the coven has spread to all these people in the village, including Charlie, and that Minerva's aloofness has never hurt Charlie because Charlie believed that Minerva didn't care, which I think is maybe an impulse that Minerva would have, that like, oh, people assume I'm aloof and they assume that I don't care about them. And Charlie, I think Charlie divulges in this very tearful moment that she's just like, the reason your aloofness has always hurt is not because I've ever suffered the delusion that you don't care, but because I want you to participate in the fruits of all your work. And you made this coven and brought us into it, and it has brought so much light and joy to the world. And that is something for you to share in, like you just did with me for the 100th time.
That's so sweet. I love that. This is good. This is good. We went from like evil squabbling to now we're just all supportive. The next card is the Two of Pentacles. Coin time. Time for a quick break from coin time. The sun, that's me. Oh wow. Okay. The coven's finances have been out of balance for some time, and we must finally decide what to sacrifice. Everyone who has a wisdom card must discard one from worry. Perhaps we've been too generous or too self-indulgent, or we've spent too much attention on our personal projects and not enough on productive labor. Every coven mate must admit one way in which they're responsible for a shortfall, and then we can ask ourselves, how do we pay off our debts? So, if you have a wisdom card, chuck it.
Goodbye, Seven of Cups.
Is that your lowest wisdom card? Damn.
My lowest wisdom card right now. Yeah.
Nice. You're in a pretty nice spot.
Yeah.
I
had one, so it is gone.
So I feel like if Charlie, you've got to solve this with wisdom, right? Like
yes.
Yeah.
So the one way that I've been at fault is I think that I think that there have been a number of big projects that Charlie just did not budget for. Like Jax's birthday was incredibly extravagant. When Minerva was depressed, it was like, we're not going to question the amount we spend on creature comforts in the sanctuary. Like those are just going to be prioritized and we'll deal with the fallout later. And this is the fallout later. And Charlie's a little bit like, I spent an incredible amount of farthings on chocolate last month, and a truly ballooning budget of me making eclairs every night and just shit you don't need to be doing when you're strapped for cash. So that's Charlie's issue there.
Yeah. I think Minerva's issue is that they is both because of the fact that they've been constantly, but I think also they just haven't been getting work done that they've needed to, both on a practical granting of blessings and such and fortune telling, but also they've just been completely neglecting the stars. And so a significant portion of their income does just kind of come from predicting good windfalls. You know what I mean? They'll kind of just they'll just play the stonks a little bit. And then they just haven't been doing that. And so there's just a significant income that hasn't been coming in.
I think Tamsin's issue, and I'm going to use the safety mechanic as well to check in. This is not about drugs at all, but I can see how it might be taken allegorically. Is that okay?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm okay with that as long as it is not about drugs. It's just okay, perfect, great.
So after Tamsin's ritual backfired, she is noticing that her magic is coming more slowly, and the more needed and powerful it is, it's rebuilding. But she's impatient, and so one day, she goes to, I think that there's a market outside the market. And it's not quite a black market. Nothing is illegal, but everything is unpredictable. I think the unspoken truth of that market is there are a lot of fae folk disguised as villagers trading there. And so you have to be really on your feet and really on top of your wits. But no matter what, you're going to be paying a cost more than you think. And so I think that she goes to the market basically looking for not a witch, because it's not the same training, but let's say a dabbler for certain ritual elements, certain trinkets that she knows will be touched by that fae magic and be able to give her work more potency. And it's very expensive and it does not last, so she has to go again. And then she has to go again. And maybe this is the fae curse. It's hard to tell, or maybe it's Tamsin's own kind of need to be in control of something right now. The window keeps getting shorter between each expenditure until one day she goes back and then realizes she doesn't have enough coin for even the smallest purchase. And that's why she doesn't.
I like that. I'd like to just make sure that we're on the same page of it's not that Tamsin needs to, there's no compulsion of the thing. It's just Tamsin just cool yeah, it's not an addiction. Cool.
No, because it's cliche, so
that's cliche. Exactly. It's ooh, for sure. Cool. So I think I'm gonna do the folly of I'm going to insist on a burdensome tradition, ceremony, or etiquette, which is that there's an ancient legal statute which says that in times of great distress, witches can be exempt from get finances and can get like like some financial support, but it requires mountains of paperwork. And so Minerva, kind of in this like little bit of mania, kind of like just takes all this like this bucket of paperwork and just brings it up to the observatory and just starts filling it out to file for tax exempt status.
Love that.
Awesome. I think because Charlie, you're solving this with wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take the folly of being goaded into making the wrong move. I think on my way out of the market, there's like some petty gambling going on, like maybe shells and cups, right? And the hawker there is maybe there's something about the hawker's like jaw or just bearing that reminds Tamsin a little bit of Doc, and she's really like playful and very light, and she convinces Tamsin to just put because she didn't have nothing, so like just put like 1 or 2 coins down, like what's the harm, and like I'll keep talking to you basically. And then within like 20 minutes Tamsin's lost all her money and
no.
has to go home empty-handed.
Incredible. I'm actually going to solve this with true magic.
Oh, damn. All right. Yeah.
I'm gonna solve with true magic because my wisdom cards are very high. I don't want to blow them on just a 2.
Yeah.
I am going to blacken Sprightly.
Oh, what are you gonna replace it with? Dull, klutzy, a broken doll, or another pitiable state.
I'm gonna replace it with a pitiable state. I'm gonna go drained. Charlie, when at rest, Charlie is usually like against a cutting board with like both hands on it, kind of leaning into it and just breathing. There are a lot of times in the day where Charlie is like, she's still like on the surface, like lovely and healthy. She's not sick, but she just like, we get into a financial spot and she just like works her ass off to get through it. And it's just gotten to the point where like, she's got like those big muscles around the knuckles on her hands. Her hands are starting, even though she's young, her hands are starting to get witch-like from excessive work with your hands. Just she's got like knotted knuckles on the digits of her fingers. She gets like sort of sunken eyes a little bit, not in a creepy way, but just in that way of like bags under your eyes. And her movement becomes a little bit less vibrant, where like she's almost more like now she moves in a less human way, where if she has a moment to catch her breath, she's fully inert. She's not like shifting her weight between legs, she's just completely still. Where there's just a level of exhaustion and being run down there.
Damn,
Jesus. Our last, the last challenge card that we are going to face is the Ace of for this chapter is the Ace of Pentacles. I'm going to read that one because it is High Priestess. The capital is experiencing a food shortage, the kind which has historically led to accusations about blighted fields and soured water. Worsen the kingdom's poverty and ignorance. What can we do to show our goodwill for the kingdom?
Oh shit.
So real quick, our poverty and ignorance gets worse. We are now at war with a new nation. I'm going to say that it is we are at war once again with Riparia, and also orphans line the streets, because this is another one of those proper wars. Like, we've kind of given up on the pretense of ritual combat and we've kind of fallen into actual war. And so the many like, we were not prepared for the consequences of actual war, which is to say, when soldiers die, they leave behind kids, you know?
Mhm.
And so how do we deal with this famine that is getting accusations of witchcraft? Oh, and also that does mean because ignorance, I think poverty got worse, we need at least a 6 to beat this.
Cool. I can spend a wisdom card to beat this.
I can also wisdom it up. I feel like maybe I should, just because I haven't really solved a lot of problems lately.
That would be great because my wisdom card is an ace, so I don't.
Oof. Yeah. And we're also out of wisdom cards in the deck, so it's just
Yeah. So I'll take my folly, I guess.
Yeah.
We have no more wisdom cards in the deck?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
No. Yeah. I'm going to escalate hostility between the coven and basically at this point actually the villagers, like the people who've been our friends and kin.
Yeah.
As these accusations start coming in, like first in a trickle and then in like a flood, Tamsin is very frustrated. And she's been getting more and more frustrated. Like something inside her has been calcifying over time with every time the villagers turn on them. And even though she knows that's a part of it, and even though she knows that things come in cycles, and especially with the presence of witches and the presence of covens as like a like village institution, it's still going to happen. There's a part of her that's like, but why? Why can't people just be kind? Why can't they be smart? Why can't they remember that we have helped them time in and time out with things that if we left them to their own devices, they would be blighted truly, like inside and out. And one day, when she is on some mundane chore for Charlie, like maybe getting eggs from a woman like 3 houses down or something, she catches dirty looks and she hears some snide remark and she turns on them, and with that like withering, calculating stare, she says, "The next time you meet us, we will not be here for you." And then she turns and says, "Thank you for the eggs," and goes back to the sanctuary.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a folly as well. I just keep making humble offers which are rejected. Like Charlie mistakes all of these accusations as being in good faith rather than the panicked lashings out against the unknown that they really are. So when people are like, the reason that these orphans lie in the street is these witches, you know, Charlie's like, well, we can take them in, or we can help find homes for them, or we can like not like naively believing that oh, these problems are all like legitimate and in good faith and people are saying what they really mean, and is just completely stunned as offer after offer is turned to the side.
I think the way I will solve this is that I travel to the Serpentine, and I go to the Serpentine and I'm just like, hey, I just lay it out. Like, I'm just like, hey, we are being falsely accused of this famine. I know it is not us. I have seen in the stars that it is being caused by your loss of control. And the Serpentine is like, you're right. Like, and like, I'm just kind of like, what's going on? And like, I actually like sit down with our like kind of enemies and kind of figure out a way to like meaningfully resolve this famine, even if it does mean the Serpentine is kind of still holding on to their authority and kind of latching on that way. I am able to sort of help figure out how to at least ease tensions around it. Just do some diplomacy and actually talk to people. Yeah. Well, nothing has changed, everyone. We have been recording this continuously since a moment ago, and we have just finished up the Jen, you're muted. We have just finished up the second We were finishing up the second chapter of Wickedness. This is the Toils chapter, and what we are going to do is we are going to get to look at our inevitable fates. So at the beginning of the game, we set aside 3 cards. We set aside 3 cards each face down on this other page right here.
I also just want to say, if any of you are pointing out that we could not have been recording continuously because our clothes are all different and the quality of light is different, why don't you relax, because you're being a narc right now and everyone's bummed out by you pointing these things out. So
yeah. Yeah, exactly. This has been one very long day, and you should believe in the fantasy.
That's right. I was gonna be like, fuck you, we're witches, but like, you're a narc, fuck off is also absolutely
also a really good energy, yeah. Truly. So here we are. Here's our inevitable fates. The one on the left is Brennan, who's Charlie. The one, I'm saying our names again, like you, the audience, has not just been listening to them. Which I realize now is silly because you just heard them a moment ago. There is Tamsin in the middle, and there is me, Minerva, on the right. What we're going to do is we're each going to flip over the top card. This tells us how our characters have been growing and changing over the past several years. Each one has a different sort of our mid-story big narrative shift. So if we all want to click on our card and flip it over.
Absolutely.
Oh. Whoa. And cool. Okay, so let me open up the let me open this the heck up. The interpretation guide. I love Google Drive. I love the way it loads things.
Oh, and can you send that Google Drive link, because
I sent that to you. There are 2 links in
right.
the,
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
Yep. Cool. Inevitable fates. There we go. So Brennan, you got man, I love Google Drive. I love how quickly it moves. I love how it doesn't feel the need to refresh every time I open it up again. There we go. So Brennan, you got the Hermit. You have an opportunity to learn more about the very nature of magic itself, but it will require uninterrupted concentration and study, possibly for years. If you can bear to leave your coven mates behind for that long, you'll strike, my friends, from the second line of your sources, draw 2 wisdom cards of your choice from the discard pile, and claim the card underneath this one as an extension of your power. Do you want to do that?
I think Charlie has to approach her coven mates with the knowledge of this. I think it also makes sense in a weird way because Charlie has been drawing on true magic a lot. And I think she comes to Minerva and Tamsin and basically says, I can feel this connection with a deeper source of power. I would not choose to go do this. And
well, remember, we also have offers to leave the coven behind. So keep that in mind, making your being selfless, because we might not be selfless.
Gotcha. Do we have to make these decisions in isolation? Or
yes, this is your own personal call based on your narrative arc so far. You don't need we can give you our thoughts and feelings, but you can make your own call.
Okay, do I get to hear what your guys' cards are before I can make my call, or do I have to make it right? Cool.
Let's do that. I'll just run through all 3 of them and then we can make our calls. Tamsin's card is the Lovers. An admirer, the player to your left, so that is Brennan, has been hinting that they would like to start a family with you. The domestic, strictly mortal kind of family, which can't be built in a sanctuary of magic forever on the brink of crisis. If this is something you want, you'll strike a resource friend or wonder from the sanctuary, then add your family to the second line of your sources. If you do, you'll claim the card beneath this one as an extension of your power. So someone who is a friend of the sanctuary, or an admirer, just an admirer, is interested in starting a family with you. And mine is, one of the kingdom's leaders has half invited, half commanded me to come to the palace and serve as court magician. The position comes with prestige and influence, but it will require me to be away from the sanctuary and coven, often for long periods. If I agree to take up the position, I'll strike either myself or my friends from the second line of my sources and claim the card beneath this one as an extension of my power. I'll also keep this arcana, which I can use in place of wisdom to solve any one coins or swords challenge with my influence at court. So, I think I kind of know what my choice is, and it's kind of wild. Also, wait, first, Brennan, who is the person who wants to start a family with Tamsin?
Can I go back to
let me bring you over real quick.
Our friends list.
Yeah, which I don't know why you need to refer to it, because we've just been looking at it a moment ago. But yes, of course.
Of course.
I'd like to perhaps bring special attention to Doc.
I was thinking that as well. For sure. But there's something now. Doc is the clear choice, right? Because former lover, big quest to go rescue. But that door is a little bit too open for me, and I'm having a contrarian impulse to do something. There's something that we haven't yet paid off, which is this skull next to Artemisia, which is the goddess bound in that. The doom that was set to befall this goddess. I think
I would only just like to note that it must be a mortal kind of family. The text says that.
100%. And I think that the offer, let me know if this is doable. I think the offer is that the time that goddess's time has come, that she is doomed. The magic has faded, and she can either vanish or become immortal and enter the world. I think that's what it is. I think that it's like goddess diminishing all the way to like spirit, and then to like fae entity, half forgotten. And now it's like she either has to walk through the door to where all forgotten legends go, or she can walk out and have a mortal life.
Yeah. Oh man.
My God.
How do you that down? But I like you so much. Oh no. This is perfect. Wow, you found something really, really awful to choose. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, that's really good. I am going to accept the offer of the Serpentine. I am going to I'm playing the big game. I'm playing the long game. And I refuse to really explain my choice, but I am going to go and go with the Serpentine, and go to their lands and become the official witch of the Serpentine. So,
Charlie, do you want to wait for my answer before you choose your answer? Is that the idea?
I think so. I think Charlie will wait to see what Tamsin's answer is.
Yeah. God, there's a quality to this that feels more like an arranged marriage than it does like a match of love. But also, like, what greater honor than to start a family with like former god? And if I do, she'll fade into nothing, which is so much worse. I don't want to. There's something about this that I just really don't want. Does Tamsin have the stomach to do something that she
don't do it then? Don't do it.
Oh, well, okay, this might be a step like too far forward, but Charlie, if I were to start a family with the god, would you then leave the coven, or would you stay in the sanctuary to tend it?
Charlie would stay. If there's no one to look after the coven, then Charlie will stay.
Well, but here's the interesting thing: is that so you would stay and not I feel like the hermit is like an introspective moment.
Okay.
Because like it's what do you call? Let me just read it over. It requires uninterrupted concentration and study, possibly for years. So if I feel like leaving the sanctuary isn't necessarily what it says, but it does mean withdrawing yourself from everyone else.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe that makes sense then. I mean, if Tamsin has to like start a mortal life,
Which does Tamsin? Yeah.
Yeah, like if that were to happen, if I can bear to leave my coven mates behind for that long, I'll strike my friends and say my mistress draw 2 wisdom cards. This is hard. Well, Minerva's already made their choice, so I think Charlie just looks at. I think like there's one late night that Charlie's just having a talk with Tamsin,
and
I think it's very clear that Charlie is like headed towards. I think Charlie has stopped being able to fly under her own power. Like she can still lift other things, but can no longer like lift herself. And is like very clearly headed towards being some other kind of being. Like not, she never structured her life around being young. Like she never structured her, like she skipped phases of her life, I think. And she like look at Tamsin and basically just be like, I earnestly don't know what to do because I won't leave the sanctuary. I won't give up my duties, but if this opportunity to more deeply understand magic will never be extended to someone else more deserving, then there's a possibility that by declining it, I will be doing something actually selfish. So I cannot tell what is a greater act of service to my coven mates and the people that depend on us.
If you just don't think about it, just close your eyes and think about leaving the sanctuary. Do you want it? Is that what you want? Just answer.
I don't want to leave the sanctuary, but I don't. It seems that the choice would be either.
It seems like the choice. Yeah, well,
that the choice is between where I put my focus, and I can either be. Minerva's already left, and I think what I'm saying is I can be a coven mate for you if you require one, but if you don't, then I should take this opportunity.
Tamsin has been stirring the coals on the hearth, which is immaculately tended as it always is under Charlie's care. There's not a spray ash. Everything is contained. And
actually, sorry, really quick. I'm sorry to do this. Actually, I'm not sorry at all. When we talked about the idea of the goddess needing mortal form, Jeeyon, you pointed out that there's like an element of coercion in that. And I was wondering if we could either find a way for it to not have that coercion, or if we could go for a different route instead.
Oh,
this is a safety mechanic. Yeah, this is me just happening. Yeah,
okay.
So I just was sitting here and I was like, wait a second, and then I was like, oh right, hold on. There's rules for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me think about how to modify that.
Cool. Yeah.
Idea.
Yeah, I just don't want it to be that like I want it to be like a matter of like actual love as opposed to feeling like coerced into settling down. That feels weird, but
sure. Charlie, what do you think of this? So Artemisia is changing into a different phase. And how to take the coercive element out. I think that maybe let's just like retcon this a little bit. Over the last year, Tamsin, or however long span of time makes sense, Tamsin has been paying homage to Artemisia at her altar more
Mhm.
often than she has. Artemisia is a wild god and one of the old magics in the world. And over time, in order to converse with Tamsin, Artemisia's taken many, many forms. And one time, showed up with as a deer with the head and face of a woman. One time showed up simply as a shower of wildflowers that could converse with her. But over time, as Tamsin became sadder and sadder, visiting the altar every time, Artemisia started visiting as a man, just a very straightforward and initially like very mythical looking, like mirrored eyes, a little too tall to be a person, like a mist around him the whole time. And Tamsin basically said, like, I can't talk to you like this, like do something else. And she shifted into a slightly different form. And they became friends, actually friends. And then over time, Tamsin started developing feelings for him, but kept it to herself because an old god taking a mortal form just to comfort her. It's a kindness and a boon. It's nothing else. And then Artemisia showed up one day basically to say goodbye, and Tamsin was distraught. And that's when the story came out of it's time for me to fade because there's no one who wants to start a family with me. The only way that I can be reborn is through a child that's born out of love and desire.
Oh yeah, that is really good. Thank you. Yeah, I love that.
Is that better?
Yes, that's so much better. Thank you.
Infinitely better.
Yeah, so Tamsin wants this family. She does, actually. I think this is one of the things about her. She's gotten a little older and has gone through sadness, like real sadness now.
Yeah.
It's occurring to her that there are worse things than a simple and easy life. And the idea of rearing, the reborn god child of a former god is not necessarily most people's definition of that, but for her, it's like pie, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think she doesn't want to make this decision entirely for herself. So this late night conversation by the hearth, she's stirring the coals. We're coming back to this moment, and she looks at Charlie and she asks her point blank, making dead eye contact. I think Tamsin has very dark eyes where you almost can't tell the pupils from the iris. They're deep dark brown. And it gives her sometimes this very doe-like quality, a sort of jarringly soft quality where normally she's very forward and brash. And she asks Charlie, have you ever done anything that only you wanted?
Oh.
When was the last time?
I leave it up to Tamsin how long she allows the stunned silence to sit on the room. I think Charlie to the point, like the first time Tamsin like shifts how she's sitting or like acknowledges that like a silence has gone on for like too long, Charlie like mutters an apology under her breath, and says, I'm really sorry. I know I've done something for myself and I'm just having a hard time remembering.
Why are you apologizing for something that you've clearly never even done before? Charlie, this is the first time in your life that you get to just decide what you want, and you don't have to think about anybody else. Maybe what you want is to always be in service to something outside of you. But if that's what you want, that is a hard life. And it's never going to be a life that's just for you, not even for a moment.
Holy shit.
So think about what it is that you want. Even if that's servitude.
Holy shit.
Yeah, Charlie fully dissociates, just goes
yeah.
just goes like just like glassy. I think she's like perched in like a big armchair with like her bare feet like up under her butt, like sort of arms around her knees, like one of those multicolored like furniture blankets kind of around her shoulders, like a mug of tea in her hand.
You
And
start
just
floating?
what's that?
You start floating a little bit.
That's a mood, frankly.
She looks up at you, Tamsin, and goes, well, you've put me in a terrible pickle. Because now I have to find a way. Now, even if I tell everyone in the world to fuck off and do only what I want to do, a part of me will be doing it to make you happy. So go to hell. And she smiles and laughs, and she says, Minerva's gone to court. I know that you've been hurting ever since you saw Doc and her child. Opportunities for real happiness don't come along every day. And I know that this opportunity is one that I can't see the future, but it seems very likely that the version of your life where you are happiest extends from this point down a separate road from me and Minerva. The strongest thing in the world to do is to I'm scared to be alone. But I also know that I don't think I've been strong enough at any point. But because of all the gifts that you and Minerva have given me, I can tell you right now, at this point, and maybe not a moment before, I'm strong enough to be okay by myself.
So what are your choices?
Yeah. What are your choices? Yeah, what are your choices, Charlie? This is me asking, I guess, out of character.
I'm gonna take the hermit.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna take the lovers.
Oh, yeah, cool. Absolutely. So everyone flip over the card underneath, and then we're gonna ask some. So everyone, flip over that other card.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And there's a third card hidden underneath that we will only see at the end of the game. So,
hero fan.
Charlie, you gain access to a new kind of magic. You have the choice between. You don't flip over that last one yet. That one's a secret.
Yeah.
But you have the choice. Yeah. You have the choice between law magic and air magic.
I have gravity, right?
Yeah.
And it's just that's all it says: law magic and air magic, right?
Yep. You gain additional magic. Yeah.
I will take air magic.
Cool. Tamsin, you have the choice between key magic and fire magic.
Key magic and fire magic. And I had dream magic before. I'm gonna go with key.
I have the choice between balance magic and water magic. And I feel like balance magic is the way to go, considering my life choices. So now let's go back over to that page. I'm going to take the Emperor with me because I get to use it later. This will be a secret tool to help us later. Oh, that only moves me. A surprise tool to help us later. So says that meme that my kids quote. Dun dun dun. Now we're going to.
Sorry, is that the meme about buying a gun instead of paying rent?
No, it's the meme about maybe it is that. I think it might also be that. I just know it as it's Mickey Mouse from Mickey's Treehouse.
That's right.
But now we're going to follow the instructions of our little thing. So I'm going to cross out. I no longer see the value in myself. But I now have this cool Emperor card that I can cash in. I also have what did I get? The Emperor Arcana, and I also get to add balance magic to my magics. Jeeyon, you get to what do you call? You strike a resource, friend, or wonder from the sanctuary and gain the source, my family, in your second line. So you fight for your friends, what is right, and your family. So you can just and then you have to strike a resource friend, or which I guess is probably going to be Artemisia, and then Brennan, you what do you call? You strike your friends from the second line of your sources. Yep, you have done that. And then you will draw 2 wisdom cards of your choice from the discard pile. I have rearranged the discard pile in anticipation of Act 3 to be in numerical order, with Ace being on the left and King being on the right. You probably want to take the 2 kings on the right, but keeping in mind that taking higher wisdom cards will make it easier to solve future challenges. Taking lower cards will keep us from having to deal with the brutal effects of those early cards.
I have taken the King of Wands.
And you get another one too.
I have taken the King of Swords.
You know what you're about. And so now the final thing we're going to do is, if you go to the playtest draft, there are on page page 15, there are questions. We will each ask each of the other players a question from that list. So we'll ask 6 questions in total, and then we'll ask a 7th question of the deck. The chapter will conclude, and we will start up in the next video with Act 3. So starting with the sun, I will ask each of you a question, and then we'll go around.
And sorry, is this is under Chapter 3 Trials, or is it?
No, this is right before that. This is on page 15 under Offers.
Cool.
Yeah. So, Charlie, are we holding you back?
No. You are not holding me back. I've been holding myself back.
Tamsin, is this really what you want?
It is and it isn't. I think Tamden does want a family. She wants a child, maybe many children. She wants a loving partner. She wants to pick up hobbies that she's bad at. She wants a garden she's bad at tending that the slugs always get. Like, she wants all of these prosaic things, but she can't imagine them without Charlie. Her whole idea of what a hearth means and what a home means has been defined by Charlie being there. And there is a part of her where, like, does she want to start a family with Charlie? Is she in love with Charlie? Not exactly, but is it ever a home without Charlie? No. So is it what she wants?
Wow.
A little, mostly, but never complete. Not without Charlie.
So now, Tamsin, you ask each of us a question.
Minerva, how could you bear to leave us?
I could not bear. Minerva, I think Minerva is kind of constantly making calculations, and somewhere in their mind, they made the decision that keeping the entire world and the underworld and the kingdom and the magic all in balance was more important than their friends. And that does not mean they stopped caring about their friends, but they hate themselves for making that choice. And yeah, they feel like a horrible person. So they could not bear to leave you, but they had to.
Charlie, are you ever coming back to us?
Yes. Yes, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Charlie never leaves. Charlie stays in the sanctuary. She stays tending a place for lost souls. And I think the reason that I struck love for my friends off my sheet is because she had to like kill that part of herself to survive the years without you. It's not gone because it ended. It's gone because it's buried so deep.
Oh my God.
Minerva, are we holding you back?
You were holding me back, but victory or power is not what you were holding me back from. You were holding me back from obliteration.
Tamsin, when can we see you?
When I've born my second child, the one that's just for us and not for godhood.
And now we're all going to ask a 7th question of the deck, which is, how is this all going to end? So 3, 2, 1. How is this all going to end?